with Dr. Crystal Heath and Jack Morgan. You know, today we've got a great guest, Ben Williamson, and we're going to have a really good time. Talk about all sorts of topics, like everything from bird flu to 11 Park Madison. Here we go. All things considered. Thank you for being here, everybody. Welcome. How you doing?
Hello. Good.
You know, I think that it's important to someone said they liked All Beings Considered because they thought that it was better than getting people stuck in their worldview. What was this? I really like that you used All Beings Considered. It's way more open and inclusive than just thinking about what fits in someone's narrow view. All Beings Considered. I like it. What do you mean by that, though, Wintrix?
What does that mean? Tell me what All Beings Considered means to you, and how is it different than what most programs do who are in this space?
I've always liked the names because it's because of All Things Considered, All Beings Considered. It's a nice little play off of a famous podcast, but I think it's great because, you know, All Beings Considered, it's a One Health message. It's not just about animals. It's about all of us on planet Earth. We want to try to consider. So it's not just narrow in scope. It's a little bit wider, but it's all about the beings.
And most important, we recognize plants feel pain. So
we do. You do.
We
definitely do.
And we are here for the plants as well. They're beings too. So are human beings as well.
Human beings. Yeah. I don't know if I'm all on board about this whole plants have feelings stuff, but I do think that plants matter. So I'm with you that far for sure.
Plant lives matter.
I think they do matter for sure. I mean, if we kill all the plants, we all die. Even if the plants of the ocean all die, supposedly, if all of the plankton dies, we will probably all perish. So I think it's important to think about the plants.
And I'm just putting it out there. I am willing to be a shill for Bayer if they want to invest in plant analgesia. I will be their spokesperson for plant analgesia and anesthesia and the guidelines for humane plant slaughter. I think it's really important that we start to address that. And if we can get the botanists on board to draft a guidelines for humane plant harvesting, I think we will be headed in the right direction of humanely ending the lives of plants in ways that, because we're all, as society gains more wealth, they consume more plants. And so we have to do this in a humane way. So
we need plant aspirin in order to we can apply the plant aspirin onto the wheat fields before we harvest them.
And like something to make them unconscious before we harvest them, something like that. Or we could genetically select for plants that do not feel pain when they're harvested.
Wow, that's a lot.
Too.
I love these ideas, so we can really get down into that, and I see a lot of money going that direction for sure in the future. I mean, since so many people seem to care about it.
The Effective Altruist, we got to write very long, detailed blog posts with calculations on various Discord servers and Slack channels in order to explain to the moneyed effective altruists why this is an important measure. So
I love the idea of bringing the effective altruists. All the utilitarians can come in because, after all suffering is so evil, as they say. Let's not get too philosophical about it, but I love this idea. Get the effective altruists involved. We'll draft treaties and do tons of studies on how to limit plant suffering. This is a brilliant idea. But Crystal, this might all not be necessary since Bill Gates is on the case.
Oh yeah, so Bill Gates came up with a way to make butter from carbon dioxide and water, which is pretty cool. Of course, people are horrified. Oh,
I already got you. Don't worry about you.
There you go.
I got it. We're there. Let me drive. I got you.
What do you mean? You're not driving. You've added it to the stage.
I am.
You've got your own. I've got it on my stage. All right. You're okay. I'll let you do all the things then.
There it is. I don't know which one it is now. It's yours. You're in. We're looking at your screen, Crystal.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Bill Gates backs this lab-made carbon butter that tastes like real butter. Here's how it's made, why it's special. In an industry increasingly focused on sustainability and innovation, a remarkable development has emerged from Batavia, Illinois, where all great innovations come from. A
Yeah,
company
of
named
course.
Savor has created butter made entirely from carbon and hydrogen without any involvement of animals, plants, or traditional oils. So those of you who don't like seed oils, here's your answer.
Seed oils are
Using
a thing of the
advanced,
past. Plus, seed oils come
yeah,
from plants, Crystal. We don't want to hurt the plants.
yeah. So, but yeah, I think this is, of course, but it's weird because here's the thing, as I'm a vegan, I also don't eat weird shit like this.
Would you
I
eat
eat
carbon
like
dioxide
I
derived?
would try it, but
Yeah.
it's like all of the things. It's like the Beyond, which I don't buy, and the Impossible, which I don't buy. It's like
Okay, but why
I
don't you buy it? That's a better
because I
question. A lot of
I
people don't
eat
buy it for a lot of different reasons.
I eat plants. Actually, Beyond makes my stomach not feel good. And I just like to eat salads and smoothies and like whole foods, not foods wrapped in plastic because I don't like the microplastics and all of that stuff
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
So that's why. And I'm worried that a lot of people who like go our direction won't I don't think meat eaters will like this because they have this view already that like butter is natural because we have not effectively debunked that it is not natural in any way.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I guess maybe we should just work harder on showing people how disgusting the butter industry is. But in the meantime, people still cook with butter, and the butter is in all these traditional items, right? Every time you bake, it calls for butter. You make anything, it calls for butter.
yeah,
Butter's a condiment. Butter is a substrate on which we cook, like oil. So if I could have, take a pat of butter and throw it in the pan and then fry up my onions or whatever I'm frying up, would make sense to use this stuff, right? It's just a half of
this
one.
this person said that like a spokesperson says the land footprint is like 1,000 times lower. Savor butter, we expect that to be on the shelves kind of more like around 2027. This is
Come in.
really about how we feed our species and heal our planet at the same time.
Yeah, so
Um,
like, do you remember I Can't Believe It Not Butter being a thing in the 80s and 90s? It was such a big
yeah,
deal, and Fabio was doing the ads for it, and it was supposed to be better for you, and I can't
and then
believe
we
it's
found
not
out it
butter.
wasn't bad. It wasn't better for you,
It
and
wasn't.
it's also
It also had
not.
butter in it.
I can't believe, yeah, it has butter in it, and
Mm,
so it's not like vegan
right.
either. And then there's like Olestra, which there were concerns about that. And then
Yeah.
there's trans fats and all of this stuff. And so people are very suspicious of these newfangled products.
But they seem willing to try it. I Can't Believe It's Not Butter was a big thing. People were like, you know what? If it's better, it's lower in cholesterol. It'll make me skinny. They'll try it. Maybe this carbon dioxide butter from Savor or Savor, maybe maybe people will be willing to try it.
I
And
don't think
maybe
they're making any health claims, though. I think they're just saying this is exactly like butter,
it's better for the environment.
which I would hope that people would be like, yeah, I don't want to perpetuate the virus factories that are dairies, and I want to, let's
But wait a
let's
Chris.
produce food in a way that's has a lower footprint and stuff like that.
It can't be exactly like butter, right? Because dietary cholesterol only comes from animals. So it's got to be
But
cholesterol
dietary
free.
cholesterol isn't bad for you inherently, and I think this will create like everything that butter is. So
How can you
that's what
get
they're saying.
cholesterol out of carbon dioxide? I don't think that's possible.
Because what's cholesterol? What is the structure of cholesterol?
It's synthesized in the cells of animals to facilitate the elasticity of our,
But
I think,
what's the structure? It's carbons and hydrogens, right?
yeah, but you think it's not cholesterol free? I mean, I don't know. I think that it sounds weird to me. Even the moo, what's that moo stuff? The bored cow, that's fermented, precision fermentation. It's got everything that a cow's milk has except for cholesterol. So I mean, like,
Well, yeah, I don't think the board cow milk, they make the proteins, but they don't make the fat that's part of the milk. So that's
This-
what's different. But cholesterol, like we're finding, is very good for you as long as you don't have that gene that prevents you from um, like properly clearing cholesterol from your arteries. And really, like the people who end up with atherosclerosis and things like that, it's really like high sugar diets that are doing that to people, like leading to high cholesterol and all of these things. I know many people who went vegan and their cholesterol shot up. So
How did their
are
cholesterol
you frozen?
shoot up if they're not eating
Because
cholesterol? No, I hope not. Am I frozen? No,
oh no, now you're
I was
back.
doing this.
It do you want me to go back to like college level biochemistry? I'd have to like look up the exact process, but
No, I
yeah,
just like I
it's
know that
because
you're I
like
know
the
that
way
you
the
synthesize
sugar.
cholesterol and you could because you're not right. But like I don't know, I think it's a stretch to say cholesterol's good for you. I mean, after all, I've known lots of people who had high cholesterol throughout their lives and died from it because they've got arteriosclerosis or they have so many other symptoms that are just very, very bad because of their clogged arteries and their brittle arteries. So I don't know. It seems like if you eat a lot of dead animals, you get a lot of dietary cholesterol and you get sick.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's only a problem. Dietary cholesterol is only a problem if you're like one of the very rare few per people who actually have a genetic disorder where you cannot clear cholesterol from
mm,
your arteries. Um, so like I don't know, my grandfather died at age 45 of a heart attack. He was a butcher. I don't know why, like he had atherosclerosis. I don't know why that is. Um, but yeah, I don't think inherently like just cholesterol necessarily is bad for you. Because I mean we do see people on the carnivore diet and they do great. They have like low cholesterol and everything. So I think it doesn't serve the vegan movement well when we just spout propaganda that is easily debunked, I
well, I
think.
don't know if it's propaganda. I mean, the people who are eating on those carnivore diets are eating extremely restrictive diets, right? And it's not
Mhm.
something they're not going to Burger King every day and eating things slopping around in juice and slopping around in grease. So, I mean, I guess it's probably not just one thing. I don't think, but that's neither here nor there. We have a question on the board. I'm with you on politics. We've been eating animals byproducts for 200,000 years. I don't think it's been 200,000 years, but whether it has or not, I don't think matters. I don't know. We've been having slaves for 200,000 years. I'm against slavery too. A lot of stuff that I'm against that we've been doing for a long time. What do you think, Doctor? I mean, I saw Dr. Gregor's talk, and he was talking about how people always focus on like we've been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, and he's like, well, yeah, but not really. Like we've only been farming animals for like 5,000 years, and we've only been doing it to this level for like 100 years. So not even close, not even 100. It's been like 75 years we've been doing it to this degree. So the
Yeah, we
numbers,
haven't been confining animals en masse, vaccinating them, giving them
yeah.
medications and antibiotics that we're doing. So
Yeah, we've
yeah.
been only doing that for like 75 years or something. This idea we've been doing something for a long time also is just a logical fallacy. Just because we have been doing something for a long time doesn't mean that we should continue doing it.
But okay, so here's everybody's talking about how this is new food tech. Might it be like cholesterol? Might it be like trans fats that, we learned that trans fats, we used to think that they were safe, and then we learned that it actually raises LDL and cholesterol
Yeah.
and lowers the HDL, the good cholesterol. So this increases the heart disease risk. And because of these risks, the FDA banned partially hydrogenated oils in most US foods as of 2018,
Hmm.
with similar bans in other countries. But there's all sorts of things that even meat eaters eat that is made in a lab. So things like the rennet in cheese making was traditionally sourced from the stomach lining of calves, but now over 90% of cheese in the US and much
Mm,
of the world uses chymosin made from
right.
precision fermentation. Microbes like yeast or fungi are engineered to produce the enzyme, which is chemically identical to the calf-derived chymosin, but doesn't require slaughter. So are people up in arms about that fact, the fact that 90% of cheese in the US is made from lab-grown rennet?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? And when I was a kid, rennet, I remember when I first, 20 something years ago, I went vegan and I found out what rennet was, right? And I was like, rennet is in everything. Everything I look at has rennet all of a sudden. I'm looking at, even we're making plant-based cheeses because people didn't want to eat cholesterol, can't eat dairy, that had rennet in it. And that was pretty common to find veggie cheeses, but they had rennet. But no one's up in arm, I think, because most people don't even know what rennet is. Most people who eat animals don't know what rennet is. So why would they know what what was it called? Psychosine?
Chymosin?
Chymosin. Yeah. Why would they even know what it is?
Yeah. And insulin, of course, it used to come from a pig or cow pancreas, and now almost all human insulin is made from precision fermentation and genetically engineered E. coli.
E. coli.
A lot of food enzymes, amylases for bread, lipases for dairy processing, lactase for lactose-free milk, and proteases are often made this way too, using precision fermentation.
And no one seems to have a problem with it.
Because it's not like, what if we advertise that Bill Gates backed food enzymes are in all of your food? And I think, I don't know, people.
Do you think they care? I mean, they eat Slim Jims, Crystal. I think it's weird, because what's your takeaway then? Because if it's not the health thing, no one cares about the environment. They just hate Bill Gates. But the Bill Gates empire with all of these, and also not even that, vitamin C, vitamin B, vitamin D, all of these are through these lab processes now that not naturally derived. So when you see all these vitamins on your cereal box, they're usually derived by all of these newfangled ways. They're not digging it out of the ground. There's no like vitamin C mine where there's there's like a faceless child in there digging out the vitamin C.
I think we have to do a better job. And I really wish, like, we're investing all of this money into lab grown meat and all of these new food technologies, and not investing enough marketing funds into just encouraging people to eat regular plant-based foods and debunking the myths of the dairy industry. I think people have to be a lot more suspicious of dairy. One of my most viral tweets ever was in response to this post, and all I said was, and you think this is more natural, and showed a picture of, or a video from Fair Oaks Farms in Indiana,
of the rotary, of the cows on the rotary milking machine. Yeah.
Milking machine.
Okay,
and of course, a lot of people came and attacked that and said, like, yeah, it's fine because it's coming from cows. And
I saw that too. Someone said, well, they called you a name. I hate it when people, you're a moron, or you're an idiot. These cows are only on the rotary for a couple minutes and then they go back to the fields. And it's like, I know where you took that video, and those cows are never on fields. Those cows are never grazing.
It's so frustrating because it's like, I was there. I toured the place. I'm telling you, those cows do not. Yeah, sure. They're on that rotary for 10 minutes twice a day. And then they walk back. They're covered the entire time, except for this brief time when they walk in the alleyway from one barn to another. And there's never grass anywhere. They don't touch grass.
They never touch the grass, and that's natural somehow. But Crystal, they don't care about natural.
All these vaccines, and
they're eating unnatural foods. They think the natural thing is a lie. They say they want to stay natural, and then they'll eat Slim Jims and pepperoni pizzas and McDonald's. Like, they're just liars. Someone says, you stop trying to take away our meat, you dumb cultist. Do you want to, Crystal, do you want to take people's meat away?
I want to give you meat that aligns with your values. You've been denied that choice. You've been denied the choice to eat food that aligns with your values. I want to give you all of the flavors that you want that doesn't involve killing animals, because I know you probably wouldn't kill that animal yourself. Well, some of you would, but the vast majority of people don't want to see animals suffer, and they don't want to see workers suffer. And they've been denied the ability to choose food that aligns with their values. So
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. If I don't want to enslave people and hurt people and have children working in slaughterhouses and put cows on these rotating machines and have people jam their fists up the anuses of cows in order to artificially impregnate them so they could steal their babies, kill the baby, and then sell the milk. Like if you have misgivings about those things, you'd want other choices, other alternatives. I don't think anyone's talking about taking away anything from anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
it's I think we've learned I think we've learned that you can't take away stuff from people. Like you can't prohibit alcohol. You got to just give them other choices of stuff to do at night.
And it's really disturbing though that of there was nobody in that comment thread who was on my side who was anybody respectable saying anything intelligent. And that's the vegan movement. There's not enough people in the animal rights movement. There's not enough people actually responding to the myths in an intelligent way that's trustworthy. It's a lot of people using like these emotional appeals and half truths. And like a lot of animal rights activists don't even know the dairy industry well enough to refute what some of these people are saying, other than just saying, you're wrong. It's not like that at all. Like
Yeah.
actually state some facts and evidence, and you put your own footage that you've gathered from these dairies and explain what you see. But like very few animal rights activists and vegans can do that. They all just like spout hate and anger, which makes us all look bad.
Well, you can
And this is
understand why
why
they're
we're not
angry,
very
though, right?
successful.
You can see why they're angry.
I mean, it's
13-year-olds working at slaughterhouses makes me angry. Doesn't make you
Mhm.
angry to find out that
But it
Arkansas,
makes me
rather than
angry in a way that I put forth effort to like eloquently state my case. And the fact that people are just angry and think that they can lash out emotionally and that's going to be compelling, it's not.
So
I
what is
don't.
the I guess what is the takeaway from this Bill Gates thing then? I mean, I don't know. He's providing this alternative, this carbon dioxide thing. He's doing it this carbon dioxide butter. He's sequestering it from the air. He's getting carbon dioxide from somewhere, I guess, and he's turning it into butter. He's using no seed oils. He's doing basically the same process as we already get a ton of our food from already. It's just the next iteration of it. And yet you are already anticipating people are going to push back, but they're not even making the health claims that I'm used to. Like the health claims, I'm guessing it's probably cholesterol free, but I checked the article. It doesn't say whether it is or not. But we don't even know what the benefits are except for an environmental appeal. So where does that leave us? What do we get from this?
Well, Bill Gates figured out how to make billions of dollars. I'm sure he'll figure this out. He's a psychopath. I'm not one to be like, oh, place all of our hope on some philandering billionaire psychopath like Bill Gates. But I'll, take anything to smash the dairy industry. Hopefully he can sell this to McDonald's and Slim Jim and these other, like get these into fast food stuff where people won't ask questions and it'll be cheaper for the fast food companies and they'll just be like, yeah, this is what we're doing now. But the dairy industry of course is on the board of McDonald's, making sure that their products get in there. Will they push back and push McDonald's to be like, no, use real butter? And are they going to push other fast food companies to say McDonald's now uses Bill Gates fake butter, we use real butter? Is it just going to be this culture war again?
I mean, as long as RFK Jr. is in charge, I think it will be. I mean, he's got people thinking that frying potatoes and beef tallow has some kind of health benefit. I mean, it's kind of insane right now. Rendered beef fat is the way we should be eating our potatoes.
I just think of, and I have this like sort of make the vegan movement great again ideology of like back in the Victorian era was the animal rights movement so much smarter. Like I just imagine like a George Bernard Shaw on Twitter say, just slamming some of these myths that are being perpetuated by these industry shills. And we don't have a George Bernard Shaw. And
George Bernard Shaw also, George Bernard Shaw was vegan before the word vegan was invented. Plus, he wasn't up against multi-billion-dollar industries that were working to silence him and working to create to obfuscate truths, but also to plant mistruths and psyops in everybody's. Like it's really
Mhm.
difficult to say, "Excuse me, sir, I think we should make butter that doesn't destroy the planet," and people are like, "I think real butter is my birthright." You know what I mean? It's hard to have. I don't think George Bernard Shaw had to have those arguments.
I think he did. Yeah, I because he said some pretty like biting things. I can like pull up some, George Bernard Shaw quotes from back in the day, and all of the women too, like the women who are writing wonderful things about,
Right, but their
Mary,
adversaries weren't as we're not the pork board. Their adversaries were not the American Dairy Association or whatever they're called, Dairy Farmers of America. They didn't have these multi-state conglomerates that.
yeah, but still, like I think we underestimate our power as people, and I also any vegan out there who's not doing enough to educate yourself,
Mhm.
become better at your craft, write better, and make money so that you can be effective. If you're wasting your time online responding to comments and not even using ChatGPT to help you craft your argument, like, what are you doing? So I'm shaming the vegans here a little bit. I'm kind of pissed at them. Like
Well, I've
we
had a
have
lot of, my history with the vegan movement. I've got all sorts of gripes, but I really want to know how you see Bill Gates. I don't know that Bill Gates is going to be the savior. I don't know that we're going to have these technological. I know these technological solutions just don't seem likely to me if we can't change people's minds about 13-year-olds in slaughterhouses. You know what I mean? It's hard for me
yeah.
to think that if I can't convince you that a 13-year-old working in a slaughterhouse, an industrial slaughterhouse, is a bad idea, how am I going to convince you that chopping down the rainforest to feed cows is a bad idea? Do you know what I mean? Like, uh, that's who I'm up against. Bernard Shaw. It seems like George
No,
Bernard Shaw. People were just smarter back then. They realized that maybe I
make
don't know.
animal rights great again, like the Victorian era.
Yeah, see,
I
like people
think
in the chat are saying, "Who cares?" That's exactly right. Who cares about 13-year-olds working in slaughterhouses? Who cares about people catching
but
bird flu from?
don't we don't have to talk to the masses. We have to talk to those in power.
Mm,
And this is where like the cage free campaigns, like look, they spoke to the corporate interests and they actually got them to subscribe to this really stupid idea that wasted all
mm.
their money to, like taking the birds out of the cages. When how much farther would be if they like invested in like just shutting down and investing their money elsewhere, not in chicken-based protein production, getting crumble cookies to use cage-free eggs instead of getting crumble cookies to use no eggs. Like, what a stupid campaign. But
Yeah,
when you have like white men going to executives and making these arguments, it worked. So let's do that for the egg-free movement, for the chicken-free movement, and let's show
yeah. I guess you're right.
those are the people who matter.
You just made me think because on in the last line of your of the notes on this one, it says, because I was talking about the vitamins, and I saw that you wrote vitamin B, and vitamin B12. They won 3 people won the Nobel Prize for that because they found out that B12, first of all, was intensely needed by the human being, and that we weren't getting it in modern life, and that we
Mhm.
needed to grow it ourselves. And they won the Nobel Prize. Dorothy Hodgkin was awarded the 1964 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for her work on the structure of B12, and George Minot and William Murphy and George Whipple received Nobel Prizes for physiology or medicine in 34 the discoveries related to the liver therapy and anemia, which involved vitamin B12. So the fact that in 1960, whatever, she discovered how to make B12 so that we can all not die in a modern world, and now we just accept it, right? It's in everything we put. We
Mhm.
implant, we inject
But
cows with
everybody thinks
B12.
we get B12 from meat.
Yeah,
That's
because
what most people think.
because people were so dumb. They weren't going to take it, right? They weren't going to take vitamin D and vitamin B12. So they started injecting it into the cows and putting it in milk. It's just unbelievable how stupid we are. But my point is not that we're dumb, but that I think maybe you're right. Like somebody's going to come up with some genius idea to save us all, and we're not even going to remember them. Most people don't even remember where the lady
We
who
don't
made
have, and there's the thing, don't speak to most people. Most people are just NPCs and don't change the world, and they just follow along what everybody else
yeah, they
does.
don't even think
We
about the
have to
world.
speak to the people who are actually impacting things. And those are,
Yeah.
in my sphere, veterinarians who are actually like doing these things. And, you know,
Yeah.
they've become shills for the industry, many of them unknowingly, and I'm here to like wake them up and make them realize that they have a lot of power to change the world and influence policy related to animals and our food system, and they have a lot more power. And you working in the restaurant industry, you have the power to speak to people who worked in the restaurant
Yeah.
industry and who design menus,
Yeah.
and like, let's make your menu more resilient and robust, and let's market food that's going to save the planet and our health. And whenever I go out, I want plants, I want healthy meals, and it's hard to
Mhm.
find even at vegan restaurants. I
It's hard to find healthy meals, yeah, in America because we're
Yeah.
poisoning ourselves. Make America healthy again should probably start with eating a whole food plant-based diet. But you mentioned the industry and veterinarians, and I don't want to. I kind of want to go that way because I want to hear more about kind of bird flu world. I haven't read enough about bird flu this week. Maybe you can give me the update about what's going on there.
Well, there's not much of an update. There's only one herd infected so far in August in California. We haven't heard much, and this is really concerning. I mean, we talked about that new study that came out last week
Yeah.
that showed that it's everywhere on dairies, and it was just one small little study of 14 cows, but it showed on this dairy, it was in the air, it was in the water, the sump pump pits, in the just all over the place. And
Right.
I think we have to like get people to realize how much virus we're talking about is out there in the environment because of these dairies. And so in clinically ill cows, you have 10,000 to 100 million virus particles per milliliter. And not all of these virus particles are infectious. So we need to know like the tissue culture infectious dose.
Mm.
50 TCID 50, which is a virology metric, and this is the amount of virus that will infect 50% of replicate cell culture wells under conditions of the assay. So a Nature study of US dairy herds found that milk from clinically affected cows had 10,000 to
Jesus.
631 million TCID per mill 3 days after diagnosis. So how much is like what does that mean? 10,000 to 631 million. So just for context, it takes one TCID dose to infect 50% of turkeys. So
So,
we're
so,
saying
so we're
that
saying we're all going to die of bird flu.
no, I'm saying 1 ml
Yeah.
of raw H5N1 infected milk could potentially infect 10,000 to 631 million turkeys.
So
But
Crystal, but
obviously
you're the one
these
who's always telling me that I shouldn't worry about this because
because it's not effective, and you're just going to appear like some mask wearing lib who's scared of everything. That's what
I'm not afraid.
anybody's thinking right
I don't
now.
drink milk. I don't drink
So I
milk. someone in the
Y-
chat saying they're drinking a milkshake right now, right? Someone in the chat is eating a beef
Why are you
burger
watching those
and drinking a
NPCs in the
milkshake.
chat?
Because,
Don't
because
even
I see that and I'm worried about them. I'm worried about them because
because you're
they
just a
are
worried, sniveling
no,
liberal.
listen, because
Okay.
they are trusting a giant industry that they know nothing about to deliver them fresh and safe food. So
Because they're bootlickers and they're
they're
simps and they're
bootlickers.
just,
They are, look,
NPCs.
they are NPCs, but that NPC trusts the industry to deliver them to go that the milk from that cow, which is likely infected by H5N1 at this point, that it goes to this plant and they get every milliliter homogenized and every milliliter pasteurized. Not 1 milliliter of unpasteurized milk makes it to the public. I call bullshit on that. I know a lot of faulty product goes in any industrial situation. A lot of faulty product goes out unsafe, which means that we've got bird flu out there in the public. And then they've done tons of tests where you've got to cook the shiz out of a burger before it kills the H5N1. You got to cook it all the way through. So if you're eating a burger and drinking a milkshake and they're from their animal derived proteins, your likelihood now is going up, and people are just trusting all these industries they don't know anything about.
Yeah,
So,
you sound like a very scared, unhinged animal rights activist who's like not looking at the data and who
right.
is fear mongering. And what the conservatives did to get in power? They got people angry at the mask wearing libs like you and the libs who were scared of everything all the time.
You say
And I
that,
think
but the conservatives are the ones that are afraid to set foot in a city because there's dark people living there. You know what I mean? They're so afraid they can't even go outside. They're so terrified. They're eating their burgers in little hutches and they're watching TV all day. Like these guys, they're just so afraid they won't even ask a question about where their food comes from. That's real fear.
I mean, it's just people playing into like whatever their culture is, and it's, oh, we're going to try to whatever anybody who's questioning the wholesomeness of dairy and these antiquated methods of protein production.
The
But I think
wholesomeness, it's so
the
wholesome. Yes.
the point is that it should really piss us off is like, maybe even if all the milk is pasteurized, we don't know anybody who's gotten sick from drinking pasteurized milk or even gotten H5N1 from drinking raw milk yet. But of course, we're not testing enough, so we don't know. But the fact that you have 1 mil of milk has potentially 631 million
Wait a second. Didn't all those people get bird
infectious.
flu down in Florida from raw
No,
milk?
they didn't get bird flu again. You're a vegan
What'd they
spreading
get?
propaganda. They got E. coli, Campylobacter. They did
Oh,
not
yeah.
get bird flu.
Oh, yeah.
So you have all of this. 1 milliliter has all of these potentially infectious virus particles. A fly can land on that milk and go fly and spread it to a poultry facility and infect that. And that's what's happening right now in Arizona. We'll talk to Ben Williamson about Hickman's, but they're now, I thought they were going to shut down for 2 years, but apparently no, they've gotten their new batch of chicks while H5N1 is circulating in nearby dairies in Arizona.
Yeah.
Let's just see how long it takes for those birds to get infected again.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Ben Williamson, and he is also going to talk with us about how to be an alpha male vegan. So stay tuned for that. He'll be here in about 20 minutes. But look, I know, but shouldn't we? You're the one who says I should be angry, Crystal. I'm not afraid of getting bird flu from milk. I don't eat it. I don't do it. I don't like sucking off the teat of some bovine. But I tell you what, I know a lot of people do. My neighbors do. My neighbors, man, they're eating ice cream. They're eating all sorts of milk products. They're eating dead animals all the time. They got a smoker in back. They're always eating dead animals. And like, I know people who have been killed like through all these cancers and all the butthole cancers and the breast cancers and all that stuff that people die of from eating animals. And now here's one more. And now you're saying I shouldn't be pissed. I shouldn't be raising the alarm bell. I shouldn't be ringing that bell and telling your friend in the chat who's sitting there in his mother's basement and he's eating his burger and he's drinking a milkshake that someone made for him, probably a minimum wage worker. That person, I shouldn't warn them and say, hey, man, that stuff might kill you. Like, haven't you heard of bird flu?
Stuff might kill you. Like when people aren't dying from it, it's not enough. Even though like 1 in 6, I think people get sick with a foodborne illness or something. Let me pull up the data on foodborne illnesses. But like there's a lot of people getting foodborne illnesses just from like Campylobacter, Listeria, and all of these things, and salmonella, and it costs us, billions of dollars every year. Everybody knows somebody who's gotten sick from eating
salmonella,
meat, but still they don't care. And because
no one ever tells them. People just like, oh, they got food
they're not
poisoning.
told
I
in
ate
a
some bad
trustworthy
fish.
way, though. And maybe your method might work on some people. I don't know. Like, so here's both my parents have gone vegan. My ex-boyfriend went vegan. I know many of my vet school classmates who have gone vegan from the way that I present things. And it's not done in a judgmental way, so they don't feel that it need to like push back. I'm just like informing. And so many people on my Twitter who follow me on Twitter have said that like, oh, I've gone vegan from just, what you've been posting and everything like that.
I know Gary Yourofsky. You're just like Gary Yourofsky telling me that you got the best way to turn people vegan.
I know Gary has his, I'm not saying I have the best way. I'm saying we all have our own way.
Yes, that's true.
And this is my way, and I'm highly suspicious. I think we have to like look for the meat industry and like how they went about getting people to one. It is just like ubiquitousness, putting it everywhere, denying people choices. Like that's what they've done, but also presenting it as the fact that the vegans, the gaslighting of presenting it as like the vegans were taking away their choice when really they were taking away people's choices, and continue to like banning cell cultivated meat. And yet I see so many vegans and animal rights activists, and this isn't a vegan show, perpetuating the same myths that the meat industry has played on, of like just the things that people say of like, you need to reduce your consumption of meat. Like the Denver did this whole thing of stop eating meat, which such a bad message. And it should have been framed as like, we are sticking it to the oligarchs and you deserve a choice, and this is a choice day that
that the government,
we are going to support those industries that are being harmed by the meat by this industry.
It's kind of funny that these people who think that like they're such tough guys, they're such simps and bootlickers. They're going, I want to do exactly what the government tells me and exactly what these corporations tell me and nothing else. I only do what the corporation and government tells me to do. And it's like, well, there's all the other stuff you can do. Yeah, but it's hard to do that stuff. Yeah, because it's easier to do as you're told, man. It's totally, but that I think, hey, wake up this government and the corporations that are funded by the taxpayer. They are hurting you. They're killing people, and you're right. Maybe salmonella is a better argument than bird flu, but bird flu is a big deal right now, and it could be a really big deal as we move forward. And they're starting to eliminate our choices even more. Look at what's happening in New York City. We just lost another choice for people, like the big foodies. They can't even go out and eat anymore. What's that all about? Like 11 Madison Park, they're not closing. They're just changing.
Well, they framed it as they're giving people a choice by serving meat again.
Good thing they're inclusive.
And wouldn't it be terrible if a $300 plate restaurant excluded people by not putting meat on their menu?
Yeah, it's horrible for a $300 plate restaurant to exclude anybody. I can't believe that they would think of doing such a thing. it's a strange it's strange to me because they've been plant-based for 4 years. And out of nowhere, they just announced this. Were they having troubles? Like they just said no, we're not having troubles. We just want to be more inclusive and we want to sell they want to sell some dead duck. They said, we're going to have this duck that everyone misses. And
yeah, I wonder from Crescent Farms in New York, that place that depopulated a bunch of ducks. Is that
ducks
what that's
depopulated ducks? And why did they depopulate those ducks, Crystal?
From avian influenza.
From bird flu. That's what I'm telling you. What they're going to they're going to bring back those ducks. They're going to feed people bird flu. How beautiful would it be if 11 Madison Park was the place that gave people bird flu with their ducks? But
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they've cooked their food quite well, but I think people should be angry that they're supporting that business, and everybody should call up and see, like, where do you get your ducks, 11 Madison? And they should do an investigation of the facility where they get their ducks, if they're supposedly so-called humanely raised. And if it's there's a honey thing, go investigate the beef facility where they get their honey from. Like, let's shine a light on the methods used to produce these animals at 11 Madison.
What's your thought on this? I mean, they're offering more choice. What do you think? Are you disappointed? I mean, have you ever eaten there? You like fancy food?
No, I mean, I used to eat at like a lot of Michelin star restaurants, and I just like haven't lately. I think the more I've been against the patriarchy, it's like I don't have an interest in that, because it's like I could spend my money on doing something good for the world rather than a hedonistic meal that costs so much money. And I think that's where a lot of vegans are. Even if we have the money, we don't want to spend it on that. And that's the problem. If you are one of those fine dining establishments that's in it for profit, you are going to have to appeal to hedonistic psychopaths, because that's your customer base.
That's your customer base. Yeah. It's interesting. Someone asked what a Michelin star is. And the breakdown, Michelin was a travel guide. They were the tire manufacturer. Everyone knows about Michelin. They had this thing. 1 star was it's worth going to. You like a must go if you're in the area. 2, it's like when you go to that area, you have to, it's willing, you have to make you have to go. I forget how the first one's if you live anywhere nearby, you must go. The second star is if you're in that area,
like you drive there. You
right.
Drive there, go, and then
and
third star is fly there. It's worth to fly there and to
fly there. Yeah, actually go to Las Vegas just to go to their 3 Michelin star restaurant. If you're in the business, I worked for a 3 Michelin star restaurant for a short amount of time and over in Las Vegas. And it's a big deal, it's fancy. What's really kind of funny is they're charging all this money and they don't even make as much money as these other restaurants. Like, I think my bars made 10 times as much as even just one bar, MGM Grand, made 8 times as much as the Michelin star, the 3 Michelin star
McDonald's
restaurant.
makes a lot more money because they're serving more people.
Yeah, like a McDonald's in a urban area is supposed to make about $2 million. A Chili's is supposed to be making like $5 million just to stay in business. And these places might make $1 million or $2 million. They're not big money makers, but the people who go there, they've got this high level of service. It's like the Mont Blanc. They don't have to sell as many pens as Bic, but they got to make a really nice pen to get $1,000 for that pen when there's 10-cent pens out there or free pens. But Crystal, like, I totally get what you mean. It seems like hedonistic psychopaths, and I don't know. I guess it's just you follow the trends. When I worked in that business, I worked at a fancy place in Laguna Beach, and people would come in, and because it's such a memorable place, they would come once, and then 10 years later they'd come back, and they'd be like, "You don't have the lamb stew," and we're like, "No, lamb stew hasn't been on the menu for 10 years. I haven't. It was gone 5 years before I worked here," stuff like that. And people like, well, it's a shame because that lamb stew was amazing. And it's like, yeah, 10 years ago, lamb stew was really in. Nowadays, lamb stew, no one wants it. Like, you should have kept on buying it, I guess. You should have come. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Like, they probably had someone come in to this this 3 Michelin star restaurant, and come in and be like, well, how come you don't have that duck? And they probably got that so often. Be idiots that would come in 5 years later. How come you don't have that duck? Well, we're plant-based now. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, don't listen to you got to do and a lot of like these chefs say, "Oh, we're in it for the art, like it's the art of the
Yes.
food and all of
I
that
was
stuff."
just gonna say.
Then don't listen to critics. Do your
Mhm.
art and tell them to
Fulfill your
SCF you.
culinary vision, right? You've got this
Mhm.
vision where you're going to do things a very particular and special way. Then do it. Don't listen to people asking for the duck 5 years after. Watch, they're going to reintroduce that duck, and they're going to
Yeah.
sell like 5 of them.
Well, we're talking about that thing, but we should be elevating this restaurant. Alain Pissard, probably mispronouncing that. The first three Michelin star chef in France who switched to an entirely plant-based menu, opening a new chapter in the world of luxury dining. This is a new article. So he's doing this, and do you know how to say that? La Arpege. His restaurant in the French capital is chic 7th district that he has run for nearly 40 years. The only exception is honey. That comes from the restaurateur's own beehives. We got to investigate.
Are they really coming from that?
Yeah. Pissarro said the switch has been in the pipeline for a year. There's light in this cuisine. There are taste sensations that I've never experienced anywhere else. L'Arpege used to be known as one of the leading rotisseries in Paris. It earned 3 Michelin stars in 1996 and has held the distinction ever since. In 2001, Pissard caused a stir in the rarefied world of French cuisine by dropping red meat from his menu and saying he would focus more on vegetables grown in his gardens. The shift made him one of the first ambassadors of plant-based cuisine. While Pissard's new quest is motivated by environmental concerns, it is above all a culinary challenge. The restaurant's updated menu includes mesclun praline with roasted almonds and melon carpaccio. Lunch costs £260. Pissard has no plans to become a vegan militant himself. Well, that's a shame. I still eat a little poultry and fish, but I'm more comfortable with plants. They allowed me to learn.
Look, I get that a lot. There's a restaurant by me called The Plot, which they grow all their own food, and I like that so much more of like there's something beautiful about people who are like growing their own carrots, and they're growing everything, and they're going to make everything out of the stuff that they grow. I just really dig that stuff. I wish that, that's a very difficult way to run a business, but isn't it cooler especially if you're going to be charging 300 and something pounds, 280 pounds or whatever it was, if that's how much you're going to charge, I want you to grow it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I think it's cool. I think even I don't really need to think about R. Kelly when I'm hearing the remix to Ignition. I don't want to think about the story of Michael Jackson when I'm listening to Thriller. So the fact that this chef happens to be eating animals on his weekends, but he's not serving them to me. I mean, what are you going to do, right, Crystal? Not everyone can be militant vegan.
It's what are you going to do? I wonder what his thought process is, but he's like, just been surrounded by that culture for so long. I can imagine it's probably hard to change when everybody around you is that culture of meat and French cuisine, especially like the cream and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I used to work with a guy named Chef Amoroso, Anthony Amoroso. He was famous. He was on Top Chef. He was my executive chef for MGM Resorts International, and his wife was vegan and he was vegan. But guess what? He's like, I don't eat animals except when I'm at work, when I'm tasting. I have to taste animals, and I don't eat them because I think it's this. I think he just, it was more about health for him. He was like a marathon runner. He didn't think it was good for you to be eating animals. He at home, he told me, he knew that I was vegan, so we talked about it a few times. He said at home, 100% vegan. There's no animals in his house. Like, he and his wife eat 100% vegan. I think he was pretty hardcore, but he worked for a mega corporation that was selling animals. What do you do?
because he's been denied a choice to even work in a place that aligns with his values, as many people have been. So
Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing. Plus, you're in a corner at some point, right? You've studied this. You've got a high-paying job. You're in this industry. Can you just turn your back on it? I was in that position, right? Like, can I just? I'm not okay with what's happening here anymore. I don't know if I can change it. I don't know why I'm still doing it. Can I just leave? Well, it's very difficult to leave, especially at that level. He's making, big money. So I don't think and he's got the job, the dream job he always wanted. I think about my friend Jess, who worked for, he was a puppeteer, and he worked for the Jim Henson Company in Hollywood, and it was his dream job. That's the job he always wanted. He went to school for. This was the craft that he wanted to practice. And he's like, hey, can we stop using feathers and leather on these puppets? We can make them out of anything. Why are we doing that? And they basically told him to go F himself, and he had to quit. And it's been really difficult for him for the rest of his life, and
yeah.
Because he's been denied a choice. You're right.
This I'm going to try to add to the stage. So there was a cockfighting ring recently in your neck of the woods.
Feathers. Yeah.
3,500 roosters seized amid I can't speak today. Amid cockfighting crackdown in San Bernardino County. A 6-week enforcement operation targeted illegal cockfighting in rural areas throughout San Bernardino County, resulting in 56 arrests, as well as the seizure of 3,500 roosters.
Yeah. I want to know in the chat, how do you guys feel about cockfighting? Is cockfighting cool? I know we got a lot of people who are not animal rightsy. Is cockfighting cool? On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool is cockfighting? Number 10, it's as cool as UFC. Number 1, not cool at all.
It's interesting and look at all of these places that they raided, all of these facilities. But the thing is that every poultry operation, you have birds that are cockfighting, basically cannibalizing each other. And we do nothing about that because it's rich white men, white executives who are in charge of that. And it's fine. But when it's, people of color, usually Latino populations who are doing this, then suddenly we have to crack down on it.
Oh, that makes sense, I guess. That's why bullfighting's evil, but rodeo's okay.
Yeah. And they go through these great lengths to break up these cockfighting rings when just, 3,500 birds, that's nothing compared to the millions and millions of birds that are harmed. So I thought that was really interesting. But here's the thing. I think we all have to be worried about what happens to these roosters. And we have to make sure that they're not just euthanized. We have to follow up and make sure that they're sent to sanctuaries. And people will be like, oh, but these roosters are violent and we can't trust that they'll go to a good home. But there are actually many successful stories about this. Yeah. There was a former cockfighting rooster rescued by the Richmond Animal Care and Control. And this rooster formed a friendship with a duck. And the people who rescued them, they said this was a win. And in the world where wins are hard to come by, we are relishing in this outcome. Austin Animal Center took in several roosters from a cockfighting bust. Staff reported transformative outcomes. One rooster slept in a caretaker's arms. Another clucked happily, even appearing to give us a beaky grin. The shelter noted, I had all these notions of what fighting rooster would be like. I couldn't have been more wrong. And Heartwood Haven rescued over 100 roosters from a cockfighting operation in Pierce County. The sanctuary is working to provide loving homes and long-term support. A rescue in Colorado, Danzig's Roost accepted 68 roosters rescued from a cockfighting ring in Oklahoma. They're now under care with long-term plans for their rehabilitation and well-being. And Harvest Home Animal Sanctuary, that's our friends in Stockton, rescued Chloe, an ex-cockfighting hen, as a part of a large seizure of fighting birds. They now live peacefully among other sanctuary animals. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, they train them to fight. I've seen them, how they do it. They get them all riled up. They got razor blades strapped to them and stuff like that so they can kill each other. Rodeo doesn't stab the bulls to death, dummy. Someone says, how do you think they kill them? How do you think they kill them when they kill them? They just... They're going
They
to kill
don't
them.
kill the bulls in rodeo. They only in bullfighting, and that's bullfighting is illegal in the United States.
So
But
all those bulls that I see in rodeos, they just go. They live for 20 years.
Yeah, actually, many of them do live for a long time. They're very valuable. They breed and stuff like that. But I did go to a bovine sports medicine continuing education, and I learned there are many injuries, and a small percentage of bulls do actually break their back, and they don't actually know that this happens at the rodeo. It's usually days later. So these aren't counted as rodeo injuries, but then the bulls go down and they are paralyzed and then usually euthanized. And I would love a rate on this. How many break their backs? Because they do like necropsies, very, thorough necropsies to get insurance money when these bulls do become paralyzed. So.
But Krista, what about all the other animals I see getting injured out there? I see horses getting injured in rodeos. I see the little calves, the heifers that they lasso and then jump down on.
Steer wrestling.
I mean, these seem like you tell me they don't meet their end the traditional way of killing cows. They don't at some point take most of those animals out back, tie them by the end of their legs, hoist them aloft, and slit their throats to desanguinate them. I mean, that doesn't happen to any of those animals.
I don't know what percentage are sent to slaughter. If they are following the Humane Methods of Slaughtering Act, they have to be stunned.
Well, I forgot. I skipped that step. Right. First they captive bolt them. Yeah, then they hold them aloft, and then they slit their throats. So they're still getting stabbed to death, though.
We have to get this. I don't know what percentage of rodeo animals do meet their end that way. I don't have statistics on that.
Okay, but I think it'd be safe to reason that many of them do end up on the slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse.
Some might, yeah.
Come on, all these animals are living their full life expectancy. I find that hard to believe. And when they do kill cows in slaughterhouses, it is the knife that is actually the thing that kills them, not the captive bolt. That's just a stun that basically renders them somewhat unconscious. Hopefully.
We have a guest on who will talk about their investigations.
Yes,
with their
perhaps he'll be able to illuminate
that.
Tell us who our guest is, and then I'll bring him on with our intro music.
Okay, Ben Williamson is the executive director of Animal Outlook, and has recently been a part of a recent investigation into foie gras in California, and found that actually we still had foie gras being sold on the shelves in California. And hopefully we'll talk to him about how he discovered that and other things that Animal Outlook is working on. So yeah, happy to have you.
Also manly man vegans. He's going to tell me how to be an alpha male vegan.
We're going to talk about a lot of things.
We have a lot of people in the chat that want to know about alpha male veganism. So
we're going to talk about Ben's recent blog post. I didn't prep Ben on anything we're going to be talking about, because I
hope he's fast on his feet, because these questions are coming in fast and loose. All right. Well, let's come on, Ben Williamson from Animal Outlook. Let's do it. Skyjack Morgan on All Beings Considered. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't prep you on anything we're going to be talking about. I figured you'd be fine. We're just going to talk about your recent foie gras thing. So California banned foie gras, and I don't know when did they do this? 2004? They passed Senate Bill 1520?
Yeah, something like that. And it took its time to go through the courts, and eventually the US Supreme Court decided not to hear it, meaning that the lower court's decision was upheld in 2019. So it's really been in effect since 2019.
And you discovered that there was a store still selling foie gras. So how did that happen?
Yeah, it's a crazy story, really. I just had a really light day on a Friday morning, and
just going.
That's how I get into trouble too.
There I was minding my own business, and out came a foie gras. Okay.
Yeah, and so I sat down with ChatGPT, just like bouncing ideas for our next investigation, and somehow it kind of suggested, or I got the thought of going down like a Yelp track and looking for reviews of foie gras online in California, just to see, if there was anything out there. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll get, some high-end restaurant selling foie gras under the table, and we could go and do a hidden camera, sit down for a dinner, order the foie gras, that kind of thing. But suddenly I was getting like a few returns for the store I'd never heard of called Wild Fork Foods.
Yeah.
And there was ones in Huntington Beach, there was ones in Long Beach. So I found 4 Yelp reviews for this. And so I thought, all right. And then I looked at the website, and they had 11 stores across Southern California. So I went to my local one in Manhattan Beach, and sure enough, I was stunned. So I just picked up this foie gras. It said foie gras on the sign. I looked at it, and I took down the USDA establishment number, and I went back and did my research and found that it even said LaBelle Farms, which we know very well is LaBelle in upstate New York. And
I've been there.
Yeah, there you go. And so, the name rang a bell straight away. And sure enough, so the following Monday, I talked to my investigations team about it. The next Monday, our director of investigations went with a hidden camera, went to all 11 stores around Southern California. He drove 350 miles in the same day and bought foie gras at all 11 Wild Fork Foods stores. And not only that, the more digging we did, we found that Wild Fork Foods is owned by the world's largest meat company, JBS.
No way.
A connection I never dreamed of finding, that the world's largest meat company was selling foie gras, apparently illegally in California.
You mean JBS, the newly, you can now invest in at the NYSE, now that they gave $5 million to Donald Trump, they're also selling foie gras illegally in the state of California? Who would know that these guys who have paid $3.2 billion in fines in Brazil for bribing politicians, that they would break the law here? It's wild.
Well, that was the thing. We couldn't quite get our head, and we were internally, we were having some discussions about it. Look, was this a genuine mistake? Because this company, Wild Fork Foods, it had been a direct-to-consumer online business. So mostly doing online, which wouldn't be illegal if the transaction happens outside of California. Hudson Valley Foie Gras, LaBelle, they can sell directly to consumers in California as long as it's done out of state. So we thought, is this a mistake if they just tried to translate their online business to brick and mortar and this just slipped through the net? Or is this like an attempt by the world's largest meat processor to test the boundaries of the regulation? Are they looking at what's happening to Prop 12 and the Trump administration trying to overturn Prop 12 and thinking, well, we can get the foie gras ban overturned as well. We can sell it and then claim damages if they try to penalize us and go through the courts. And it does make its way to the Supreme Court. So in the end, once the story was placed with the Los Angeles Times, in a matter of about 2 weeks from finding it to getting the story out there, they just quickly took it off the shelves. And in fact, we went back in and they said, oh yeah, we've stopped selling it because it had gone bad. So even to the very end, this company was lying about what it was doing. It hadn't gone
They're
bad.
still not saying like it was a mistake or something like that.
They no commented the LA Times, and they had put nothing on it. And so we went back online and tried to order it online. And initially the web page was down. We got a 404 error, and then it just said we're not selling to your zip code.
So for the uninitiated, can we just do the brief explanation of why it's illegal in California to sell foie gras? Maybe tell us what foie gras is.
Yeah, well, so foie gras literally means fatty liver in French, and it's according to French law, it's the product. It has to be the product of gavage, which is essentially force feeding, which is putting a pipe down the throats of ducks or geese. In this case, it was ducks, and pumping massive amounts of grain into their stomachs, causing their livers to become diseased. Their stomachs swell up to 10 times their normal size, and this happens in the last kind of few weeks of their lives, their miserably short lives, and the liver is the diseased product. So the California law doesn't mention foie gras specifically, but it says any product that's the result of force feeding an animal with the purposes of enlarging their liver. So we thought, have we got it wrong? Is like foie gras not illegal? Is there some special permit? Because that was another thing one of the store clerks investigator, is that they have it's illegal, but we've got a special permit. So we were looking into it. What special permit
Oh my gosh.
to get around this? And then they were advertising, and it's still on the Wild Fork Foods website. It still says humanely raised birds. And we're like, no such thing. I mean, if you don't force feed the birds, there's an argument that the birds naturally gorge themselves in preparation for migrations. And but I think the fact that they are using plastic pipes instead of metal pipes is the reason they're claiming that it's humane. But I'm sure it doesn't make much of a difference to the birds.
I beat you with a rubber hammer.
Suzanne Rust, she's usually so tactful. She writes, foie gras is produced by farmers who ram tubes down the throats of male ducks or geese. And I'm like, bravo. Yes, Suzanne Rust, saying it how it is. Just there, ram tubes is very sensationalized reporting, I think. But, I'm glad that she said that, because it is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I might have planted that seed, and that's usually the way I describe it, but I'm glad she went with that.
And then you've also sued another company for describing foie gras as humanely raised in DC. Can you talk about that? Harvey's Market?
Yeah, Harvey's Market, sure. So it's a 100-year-old butcher in Washington, D.C., in a place called Union Market, which is a very old historic part of D.C. And they were selling foie gras in a meat counter. And on the meat counter was written certain phrases: free range, humanely raised stock, and various other kind of buzzwords. And our partners at Legal Impact for Chickens, Aline and Catherine and Sage.
Yeah, I love them.
Wonderful people, and based in DC, certainly Catherine is. And so she was working on this with us, and they were our lawyers representing us. And we made the case that foie gras can never be humane. The product of force feeding is condemned by avian experts and veterinary vets and most logical people, and I think most Americans also, and most people around the world, disagree with the idea of force feeding animals for
except for the American Veterinary Medical Association.
They're always the holdouts, right?
There was actually a veterinary poll recently done, and 90% of veterinarian surveys, and these were all AVMA members, basically were against foie gras and thought the AVMA should take a stance in supporting bans on foie gras. So most AVMA members disagree with it too.
Yeah. So eventually we reached a settlement with the owners, and as a result, foie gras will no longer be sold at all, let alone doing it with false advertising.
In Washington, D.C.?
No, I wish. No,
yeah,
in this one retailer. No, it is sold in some grocers. Wegmans is a seller of foie gras in D.C. But something that we are trying to knock out of the city, and indeed all cities and places around the states.
I did a protest in DC when we were there for AVA last year, and I just haven't really kept up on whether or not in restaurants it's probably still available, I'm guessing.
Yeah. We used a new AI tool that's been developed to find that there are roughly 20 restaurants around DC metropolitan area that are selling foie gras.
Wow.
Can't get rid of
that's
it.
A lot. And now you protesters in DC are going to be run into trouble with the Trump administration, and he's got his armed
martial law thing. I mean, this is what people ask me all the time, like, why do you care? And I'm going, well, because I like having my freedom of speech. I can't change the world. I can't do anything if they're just going to arrest me for going outside and saying what I want to say, that I'm against the status quo. I mean, I think we're seriously going to see that animal rights activists aren't going to be tolerated in places like DC with 1,000 troops marching down the roads.
I honestly think we are the ones who are going to you should ramp up your DC foie gras protest now that the Trump administration is, having this anti-protest task force that he's ramping up. And we're going to be the ones to challenge it. And I think now is a good time. You're going to get some headlines if you, face up against, Trump's vote from Trump's people, the military state, as you like to call it.
I don't know. Yeah,
you know?
the police state. The police state, though, it's really kind of funny because they're terrified of vegans. It's wild to me that all the time it's either you're a beta male vegan because you don't kill helpless little baby animals, but we're terrified of you, and you're on the terrorist watch list because we're so scared that you don't go along with the status quo. Like, that's it's really quite funny that they're already terrified of us, Crystal. I don't feel like getting my face blown off for saying please don't eat the diseased liver of geese.
Oh, I think I'm down to fly to DC and participate. I'm not a protesty person, as you know, but I think this is the time. I think this is a good one.
My megaphone doesn't even have dust on it yet, so I mean we can. I'll bring it out. We'll go. No problem. I love it. What about you, Ben? Do you ever do any of that kind of street protest stuff?
So in my 15-year career of animal rights, I wanted to put together a little collage, a slideshow, because all the photos of me at protests, I'm either wearing sunglasses or having a chat, kind of leaning back, a baseball cap backwards. Like I've just got the most relaxed view of protesting, it seems, because every time I'm at a protest, the photo of me it looks like I'm on vacation. But no, I prefer. Yeah, I definitely think I'm more useful to the animal rights movement in front of my laptop or speaking to people or marshalling journalists or something. I mean, I know I've been to events with Crystal, and Crystal always finds something to do, like flying a drone or taking photos, or I think that's my worth as well, is to kind of be talking to people and networking and bringing people together.
Yeah, well, it's good to go to protests because everybody's there and you can talk to people and like make sure you're following everybody on Instagram like that. And that I love taking pictures, that's a good outlet for it. And there are people who love to, give speeches and, hold signs. And so I think it's a good way to bring everybody together. And occasionally, like the Metropolitan Detention Center protests, I think I was very happy to get arrested there because I think this is like a moment we're going to challenge. Like I was arrested as a journalist, following and it's a good chance to protect our First Amendment freedoms. Yeah. So I think now is a good time to protest in DC for that very purpose too.
I totally agree with you, Crystal. It's funny. I talked about you on one of my other streams with George Martin, who I hear that you've got a kind of a British affectation there. Are you based in California? Or are you in the British Isles as well?
No, I am now. I was born and raised in London, and then age 29, I moved to California. I've been here for 10 years.
Okay, so you're not going to be offended by what I'm going to say. So I was talking with my friend George Martin, who is British and seems to have no idea about what's going on in America, and he made the statement that people who get arrested by police only arrest people who are committing crimes. And I said, wait a second, Crystal got arrested for just being outside in her neighborhood because there were protests going on. She wasn't breaking any laws. She wasn't even part of the protest, and she got lassoed in. A lot of people are getting arrested for committing no crimes, and Crystal's one of them. Maybe now is the time to go get arrested intentionally, Crystal.
No, I'm not getting arrested. Nobody's getting arrested intentionally. I am following the law, and I am usually probably going to go, if there's a DC foie gras protest, I would go as a journalist documenting and taking pictures. Yeah. And if Trump's police state wants to round us all up and kettle us and whatever, I think that would be a great news story and also bring attention to foie gras. So
yes,
but
I like it.
That's
I think it's great. I mean, I think we gotta be real masculine about it, and that's a great segue to what I wanted to ask Ben about as well. Is the manliness of the movement. There you are, looking really manly with your turkey. That the meat equals manliness fallacy, redefining strength in the age of toxic masculinity. It was a great article. I really enjoyed it. Is this something you've been thinking about a lot? Because I'm constantly thinking about why people like Joe Rogan exist. Seems only to tell us why eating animals is the only way. Life eats life. Let's eat more McDonald's and be manly about it.
Yeah. Thank you. No, it's something that's come up throughout my advocacy. I think I wrote a New York Daily News op-ed maybe 6 years ago, kind of about this theme, and this most recent post came up because I just put it on my LinkedIn. Reflecting on it, it does seem like we're in a real bad age of toxic masculinity. All these podcasters coming up, and the rise of MMA, and there's a lot of broism out there. And that's just never been something I'm attracted to. I love sports. I play soccer. I consider myself, quite normal, except for my veganism, quite mainstream, quite a bit of a lad, a bit of a jock. The only one thing that's different about me compared to, all the other bros, well, maybe there's a few things, but the biggest one is obviously, I just think, well, why does anything need to suffer because of me? I can get anything I want at the click of a button. Surely I can just eliminate a massive cause of suffering by leaving meat out of my diets. And I've never had to feel like any more of a man by killing things or by abusing animals. And so, I just thought now was a good time to post about that. And the post went down really well. So I turned the post into a blog, and then I was asked to write an op-ed about it. But no, it's been really warming. A lot of people are saying we need men specifically to speak up about the merits of being kind to more vulnerable animals, and because this is a movement that's largely led by women. There's some brilliant women leaders who I've had the pleasure of working for in this movement,
of course.
And I think that the men in this movement do need to speak up about it's much more manly, I think, and I'm kind of uncomfortable with the word manly and defining behaviors based on gender and stereotypes. But to take that old word manly, it's much more manly to defend the vulnerable, I think.
Yes, when you say that,
attack.
I couldn't agree more. I think that when you have the ability, it's not just that masculinity is like, because I'm masculine, I protect those who can't protect themselves when the case need be. Is that, I was blessed. I'm 6'5". I weigh 240 pounds. I know you're a tall guy. You're like 6'4", 6'5", or something, right? And like, we're talking about, if I'm there and someone's beating up a dog, a chicken, a pig, a rat, a cow, I should be the guy who stands up. That's just the burden of being a big person, I think. And a lot of people who are of the masculine ilk, that's what we're born with. We're born with a face that can take a couple punches. We're born with big, long muscles and weight and reach. And that's what makes protecting others masculine. And I know mothers protect all this. I don't want to diminish that at all, right? I know what you mean. It's like it's a little uncomfortable talking about that as being like a masculine trait. But it just is that the physicality of manhood is that it comes with responsibility. It's weird that we all watch these superhero movies where they say with great power comes great responsibility. That's what masculinity is having responsibility for the powers that the privilege that you have, the power that you have. And it seems like such just the least manly thing is to hurt a defenseless animal. And it seems like the most testosterone-driven, hero complex, ego masculine thing to protect an animal. So it seems bizarre that these guys want to hurt animals.
Yeah, I think so. And I think if certainly if that side is going to be putting out the kind of garbage that they often spew about animals and our right to eat them and place at the top of the food chain, then I think it's upon us vegan men to put out another side, another point of view.
Yeah, when I went vegan, I found it comforting that there was already, UFC was kind of new back then. Mac Danzig was a heavyweight fighter, and he's vegan, and he was the champion of UFC. Nate Diaz is vegan, and he beat the crap out of Conor McGregor, who was making fun of him for being vegan, which I think is hilarious. And Conor McGregor even started experimenting with veganism during his training because he got his ass kicked by Nate Diaz. We have James Wilkes. We've got a lot of vegan UFC fighters now too that show you that you can be whatever definition of masculinity that you have, you can still stand up for the vulnerable and not exploit them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not certainly not an expert on the health aspect, but I can just point to myself and plenty of other vegan men who play sports, not at that level. It's not a pro athlete level, but can have perfectly long, healthy, happy, sporting lives on a vegan diet. I think that's been proven beyond a doubt. Most of us aren't going to get in the octagon, but if we want to play with our kids until we're 90, or to be active and be in good shape, veganism's a perfectly fine way of living.
Do you think that the industry is the one driving this? Where do you think this comes from with this eating animals as manly? It didn't start with Joe Rogan, did it?
No, I know. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunately it's so ingrained in society. I mean, there's definitely forces at work, the Bermans, the Hubbards, the dark arts of PR. They spend more on marketing these companies than the whole animal movement has in its total operating budgets. But I think it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy as well. People believe it and they preach it, and then they do it in their own lives. It's something that's incredibly hard to get through, but there are great people like Michael Greger putting out real facts, Dr. Faraz, experts in nutrition and health, putting through the other side, and it's finally getting through with movies like Game Changers and What the Health. So some people are taking notice, and I think the more we can do to promote those kind of vehicles, the better.
Yeah, I think they should change the name of Game Changers to be like just your dick won't work. I mean, the erectile dysfunction part of that, like seriously, that part of the movie, that's the only part I really remember. If someone had shown me that movie at the age of 14 when I was, a different person, I would definitely have gone vegan, man. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it also came up in the Harvard experiments.
Yes.
In the latest documentary on Netflix. So they talked about a decreased sexual libido amongst those twin studies. So, if that's a concern for people, then sure enough, get rid of the chicken.
It's not a concern until it is a concern. When you hear that eating meat might give you erectile dysfunction, that's a really good reason not to eat animals. Crystal wants me to not rule by fear. She doesn't want me to tell people to be afraid of eating animals. But man,
I would say you could reframe it as like, you should be angry what the meat companies are doing to you. But I would say, okay, you're Bill Gates and you have the power to direct funding to various initiatives. Do you fund things like his new Savor butter made with carbon and water, the new cultivated meats, or how much money do you direct towards just marketing versus new technologies, new animal-free technologies? What do you think?
That's a question for me. I no idea. I mean, I think you can do the most good. The reason I got into this movement is that I knew I could do the most good for the most people, for the most animals, by choosing that vegan lifestyle. I would have, when I was deciding what to do, it was a choice between, do I want to make sure there's clean water? Do I want kids not to go hungry? But I think the gap between where we are in relation to animals and where we need to be is so vast. Most people agree that kids should have clean water and it shouldn't go hungry. Most people don't agree with us on animals. And so really bridging that gap, I thought could be a good life's work. So if I was Bill, I thought I would think I could do a lot of good by investing in alternative meats.
Yeah, you talked about environmental masculinity kind of in your article too, about how meat equals manliness, and that it could be a masculine responsibility to protect the planet as well as being like a provider and a protector. All these things that the bros talk about. I know you kind of poo-pooed the broism thing, but these bros, they're always talking about being the provider and the protector. Doesn't that fit in with protecting the environment and providing for our children in the future?
Yeah, I would absolutely think so. If we want a planet that's not destroyed by greenhouse gases, then if we want our kids to live until they're 90 and have nice lives, then it's absolutely a thing to safeguard the planet. I think that's a parental role. It's it's that old stereotypical fatherly role as well. I mean, I think it just comes down to doing the right thing, whatever your whatever your lot in life. And this is a really easy thing that touches on a lot of areas, be it animals. You don't even have to care about animals really, but for the environment and for, your health or the future of your children.
Yeah, not being a bully. I think that would be, stereotypical, father figure wants their kids not to be bullies. Doesn't want to raise a bully who beats up on the vulnerable, but someone who protects the vulnerable. We live in a rape culture, and I think the fact that we're exploiting animals is part of that. And if we taught boys not to rape instead of teaching girls how not to get raped, then I think the world would be a better place. I think that's part of being a man, is like teaching your kids and teaching each other not to bully the vulnerable. And I think it starts with animals.
Yeah. I want to change topics a little bit and jump to this Manning beef investigation that you guys just did. And well, not just did, but fairly recently. And it actually made the New York Times. Nick Kristof wrote about it. Let me see if I can. I'm trying to add my screen to the stage, but it's not letting me, Sky. I'm going to remove you. And there we go. Here we go. And I thought this was just a brilliant article. Can you tell me a little bit about this investigation in Manning beef?
Yeah, so our investigator worked undercover at Manning Beef, which is Los Angeles' last remaining cow slaughterhouse, for 2 months at the end of last year, so between October and December 2024. And what they filmed working as a blood catcher on the slaughter line was the most gruesome, goriest, bloodiest footage in our 30-year history. Most of it we just can't show online because it's so bloody that the censors will not let us show it. So we're in this conundrum of how much to show to get to the widest audience. But they filmed the kind of things that you typically find at these slaughterhouse: multiple failed stun attempts. And by law, the animals have to be rendered unconscious with one stun. They filmed animals being hoisted up to face their throats being cut, whilst showing signs of consciousness, according to experts who reviewed our footage. And they showed one instance of a downed cow being electrically prodded over 20 times, which is absolutely heinous violation of the Humane Methods of Slaughter Act. So we sent this off to the USDA, we sent it off to LA District Attorney. Unfortunately, they only cited Manning beef for the non-compliance, for the repetitive stunning. They disagreed with our experts. But, if they'd have been doing their job, I think they would have found these things at the time rather than just reviewing our footage. And, there are many problems with USDA slaughter inspections at the moment. 20% of public health veterinarian positions are vacant at the moment. They're overworked, they're overstretched, and this administration is just intent on slashing federal jobs. So, it was a horrible thing to get out there, and we're really grateful that Nick Kristof saw it and saw it for what it was and managed to get it to his massive audience. He's been fantastic on animal issues for decades now. And, I would have changed the headline myself. Animals that feel the slice of a knife. I would have called it animals who feel the slice of a knife. But he provided a lot of balance. He went to Temple Grandin, and Temple Grandin said, "Oh, it's hard to tell that they're slaughtered." And that was a dark moment. It almost didn't happen when Temple Grandin, who is such an authority on sensibility in animals, when she says you're full of rubbish, then you've really got to say, well, there are other experts who think actually these animals are alive. And the difficulty in California is you're not allowed to record audio surreptitiously, so you can't hear the vocalizations that the animals are making. So you just have to go on telltale signs of any voluntary movements of the head and things like that. So it's really difficult to determine consciousness in animals. That's why that meat inspectors are supposed to be in at the slaughter line. But when we were doing our investigation, our investigator couldn't see any federal meat inspectors.
Well, we went to Manning and we didn't see any. I mean, I saw the office that said USDA, but no one was in there. There's no. I didn't see anybody out there that looked official at all. And we saw a dead cow in the alley and get dragged away by a forklift. And these are all mother cows. This is something people tend to forget as well. Manning only processes dairy cows. These
No,
aren't.
that's not true.
I
They
thought you were the one
process.
who told me that.
No, that you must have misunderstood. They
Must
they
have.
do process beef cows too, but we do see a lot of dairy cows there. So yeah, and every time I go there, I see something new. So
And
yeah,
one of the things we recorded is a lot of dead fetuses. That was really horrible. Talking about parentalism, seeing that these cows who were just ready to give birth, and seeing all these dead fetuses on the ground, that's really shocking. And no way can we show that on any social media platforms apart from YouTube.
yeah. Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's horrible stuff, and unfortunately, it's just so common. What we find we have to do now when we're releasing an investigation like this is we have to paint more of a story. Unfortunately, the cruelty just doesn't cut it anymore when you're trying to get a journalist. So the New York Times wanted to know if things are getting better or worse under Trump. So you're kind of working on that angle as well. You're taking a look at the whole USDA inspection system and finding that actually the amount of non-compliances are trending down. The federal meat inspectors are handing out less punishments for violation, so that lines are being suspended less frequently for egregious humane handling violations. They're getting written up less and less frequently. So we're actually charting this to show that punishments, it's like a slap on the wrist for these people. Manning beef, we looked at Manning beef's history since 2018. It's had 61 humane handling violations for things like smacking cows in the face with rattle paddles, excessive prodding, multiple failed stun attempts, starving animals, keeping them without water, and it's just, but they've only been suspended for 1 day in total, despite all of these violations. And that's fairly common across the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to do this job in accordance with the Humane Methods of Slaughter Act. And I think if you had a USDA inspector who is really trying to follow the rules as written, like, all slaughterhouses would be shut down. It's impossible to keep operating. And I've talked to somebody who was the chief at the Food Safety and Inspection Service, and he basically said, yeah, if you have an inspector who is, follows the rules too closely, they are often then reassigned to a district office somewhere to do paperwork, and that's how it works.
That's how it works with all these inspectors. I mean, and in health inspectors are the same way. You might find a hard ass, but they're not gonna write up everything you see because they don't want to shut down a bunch of restaurants. The restaurants are the ones paying their wages. They're gonna try to work with you and try to look the other way, have coaching moments and stuff. I mean, they're in cahoots. You got to see these guys every single day. You're not gonna bust them up too hard.
Yeah, and what's more, when you look at who's employing them, the USDA is both the regulator of US meat, but also the promoter of US meat and the marketer of US meat. The biggest customer of Manning beef is the National School Lunch Program. The Federal Child Nutrition Program by USDA purchases Manning beef. So they're finding violations. They're finding humane handling violations, but they also have contracts to supply this meat to children in the Federal School Nutrition Program. So, it's an uphill battle for sure.
And when they find those violations, they change the guidelines. I mean, when Trump took office and they eliminated the speed limit, slaughterhouse speed line limits, and I asked a slaughterhouse worker, I said, well, have you noticed any difference since they eliminated the speed limits? Like, there's no speed limits. There's never been speed limits. Everyone just laughed at me. I kept on asking people. They laughed in my face. Speed limits? There's never been a speed limit. No one's asked us ever to go slower. They're always telling us to speed up. And so, like, they probably did. Somebody probably had a violation somewhere, and they just changed it. It's like the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, finds out that children are working in slaughterhouses, so you change the law. Now it's legal for children to work in slaughterhouses. It's like,
yeah, and it's just like they're scofflaws. They don't follow the law, as we've seen with the foie gras being sold in California. They don't care. They think they have the power to do whatever they want. Lester C. Friedlander is quoted in here. A veterinarian who worked for 10 years in the slaughterhouse inspection reviewed Packers videos and told me that a number of the animals shown being hoisted and cut were still alive and responding to pain. And then Temple Grandin said, in one case, she said an animal in the video was dead, and another, she couldn't be sure. She's always, we talk about type 1 errors versus type 2 errors. Temple Grandin's tends to make type 2 errors, I think. She tends to not attribute, not say that somebody is guilty when she presumes innocence too much, too often with this industry. But I think what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was just gonna, she defends gas chambers. That's all. I don't want to
No,
say on
well,
they come out all calm and floppy.
No.
Yes, they come on. She's
No, well, she sends. Did you see the recent video with the Raven Deerbrook and her? It's really good. I just actually reposted it on Instagram, and Temple Grandin she's very concerned by the gas chambers. And I talked to Temple Grandin about the gas chamber footage, and Nick Kristof quoted her, and she said, yes, those pigs were absolutely suffering. But her plan is to, of course, genetically select for pigs who don't actually suffer when they're killed by carbon dioxide. And I asked her, how long is that going to take? And she said, oh, in a year we could do it. It's like, let's redo the video footage now and see if a year later we've
so she has in the past defended slaughterhouses. She designed slaughterhouses, a gas chamber. She has defended gas chambers. I guess, genetically modify the pigs so that they don't have soft and wet tissue that would be affected by gas chambers, I guess, sure, that's the solution. Cool.
Yeah. Christoph says, what I keep thinking is this: if you torture one animal, you're arrested and considered a psychopath. But if you abuse millions of animals in a systemic industrial process, you're hailed for your business acumen. That's an uncomfortable contradiction at the heart of modern dining. I thought that was great.
It's a great line. Yeah. I mean, just the scale of suffering, as we know, factory farming is the biggest cause of animal cruelty by far on the planet. Just reading today the millions of birds who enter scalding hot defeathering tanks while fully conscious, and their faces and bodies swell up to this dark red color. It happens all the time, and it's totally unnecessary. It's bizarre.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like baked into the cake, isn't it? I mean, you're killing 10 billion chickens a year. They're not all going to get their throats slit before they enter the scalding tanks. Like, it's impossible.
So there's a lot to do in the animal movement. How does Animal Outlook choose its campaigns and what you're going to choose to work on? Is it sometimes serendipity? Is it partnering with other groups? How do you get a feel for that?
Yeah, great question. So I think we're focused on farmed animals because there's enough to do just in the farmed animal advocacy space, and because it is the biggest cause of suffering. We're a medium-sized organization, so we've got 11 team members, 30 years old, so a lot of expertise, but quite a small team. So I think it is on us to partner with other like-minded groups, ALDF and Legal Impact for Chickens, Humane World. We do a lot of work with those groups. But I think we have that expertise and that experience doing undercover investigations. We do more undercover investigations of US farm animal issues than any other group in the States. What I've been getting the team to do more since I joined 11 months ago is we do these long-term undercover investigations where we have someone in employment at a slaughterhouse or a factory farm, but we also can use that same expertise to do quick non-employment based investigations. Crystal, our investigator traveled to Arizona to film a depopulation happening at Hickman's egg farm in Tonopah, Arizona. And just from the side of the road, and seeing and showing the world what was happening, these dead bodies of birds being taken out by forklifts and dumped into a mass grave, that kind of thing, just getting that message out there. You've done it yourself with your amazing investigations around California, and photographing dead cows from the side of the road who have been affected by bird flu. So I think there's a lot we can do to kind of do more of getting the word out about what's happening to animals on farms without the big expense really of doing those undercover investigations. They are our bread and vegan butter, and it's what we're best known for. And I think it's so important to the movement. I don't want to stop doing those undercover investigations because our adversaries will say, oh, that's old footage, we don't do it like that anymore, you've done it selectively. No, if we keep finding it, it means it's intrinsic to the whole system of animal agriculture. But I think there's a lot of opportunities, sadly, to demonstrate how much suffering there is out there.
Yeah, there's so much, and this is just video of Hickman's and great footage, but all of us have the ability to do this and just go to our local farm and film from the road. When it's hot outside, go see what the cows are experiencing. Are they showing signs of heat stress? And are they know your farm standards and various standards, learn them, and then go to your farm and see for yourself, not breaking the law, just from public roads, what is actually going on. Follow some trucks around where they're leaving one farm going to another. Where are they going to? And how much biosecurity is there as these trucks go from farm to farm? How much gaslighting is going on? I look online a lot, and I'm just astonished by how little footage there is of United States facilities out there. Animal Outlook is doing a great job getting that out there, but very few groups are doing that. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing with that. And I heard recently, you did that investigation of Hickman's depopulated more than 6 million birds and got more than $72 million in bailouts. And they said they were going to close down for 2 years. And now we just got word that they've got in more baby chicks while bird flu is circulating in that area of Arizona. Have you heard any news from Hickman's?
Yeah, it's something we've seen before. We FOIA'd a depopulation effort at Crescent Duck Farm, which is Long Island's largest duck farm, and found that they'd got a lot of taxpayer-funded bailout money. They'd also gone to their local community and said, "Oh, take care of our workers. They're going to be unemployed. We're going to have to furlough." Had a whip round, and then all of a sudden they put new birds in their facility. Same's happening with Hickman's. They were supposed to be out of business for 2 years, but less than 3 months they started to repopulate. Maybe they meant that they won't be up to full capacity in 2 years, but they got all the sympathy, they got all the press, they got all the pro-vaccine arguments that they wanted to get out there. But sure enough, chasing the bottom line, they're trying to get their business up and running again, which we would like them not to.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's in Arizona should drive by and see what's going on in Hickman's, and keep us up to date. And I hope Animal Outlook keeps up to date on what's going on. Can we look for any signs of dying baby chicks there who are infected with bird flu still? Are they able to keep their flocks growing? As we have seen, there's this one egg facility down here who has been trying to repopulate, and we've maybe captured some footage of them carrying out bags of dead bodies and such. So it takes all of us, I think, to keep an eye on these facilities.
I thought it was interesting that Hickman's they really want vaccines, and just a couple weeks later we hear RFK Jr. saying we're going to stop all that. We're not doing any kind of research on mRNA vaccines. I mean, did that just fall on deaf ears? Is that something that the industry is really calling for? Is it just Hickman's? Where do you think we're going from here?
Well, RFK is investing in the old type of vaccines. He's given $500 million to that, just not mRNA vaccines. But also the broiler industry is bigger than the egg industry. And so they have the power to squash any vaccine stuff because that would hurt their export markets. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Ben, on the whole vaccine debate?
No, I know no more than you do. That was a good summation of it. Yeah, they're competing with broilers, and many countries ban vaccinated broilers. So for that reason, but I don't know enough about it. Glenn Hickman was arguing, why don't you just let us vaccinate our hens and leave broilers out of it? I don't know. Whatever makes the suffering more endemic is not something I would generally favor. I'm not going to allow an organization to put a black band-aid over what is fundamentally a cruel and unnecessary industry.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you about, because I get into this argument a lot with animal rights people about abolition versus incrementalism. And how do you feel about that? Do you believe in incremental reforms? Do you think that slightly better housing and slaughter methods? Do you think that these are stepping stones toward abolition, or are they just delaying the end of animal exploitation?
So in my career, I started off with PETA. I worked for PETA in the UK and the US, and then I moved into more of the welfare space. So I went to work for World Animal Protection and Compassion World Farming. And so I feel like I've seen it from both sides, from the abolitionists, like that's where I started, that's where my roots are. And then the practical incrementalism with speaking to companies, getting them to try and make incremental reforms. And honestly, it's so much easier for me just to do what I feel is the right thing, which is to push everybody towards plant-based diets. I was at Compassion World Farming. I was dragging companies kicking and screaming to make the tiny welfare improvements. So they'd already committed to making and just getting them to implement. I thought, well, if I'm going to work this hard, I may as well be asking them to go vegan because they're not making any improvements anyway. I can definitely see in the cage-free movement and that we've made progress, but it is difficult. I think for me, I don't know what the answer is. For me, I know that you get one shot at life, and I don't want to spend it trying to make small improvements. I want a wholesale change in the way we treat animals, and that's what I will continue to do. There are very many clever people out there who are working on incremental welfare reforms, and I won't get in their way. If there are genuine improvements, I will not get in their way. But for me, I just want to see the whole system abolished.
Yeah, I see it as like the industry has billions and billions of dollars, and there are actually people who really care about animals who are working inside the industry to get things like vaccines and better housing and all of the things. And yeah, go for it. But I'm not going animal rights activists and vegans. I want to empower us to also advocate for a future where we don't need that. And I hate to see our limited funds wasted when the industry is already, supporting a lot of those things. So
and also I don't want to see us become the world police. Like we got to check up on Swansons to see if they actually did go cage free, which they didn't. Of course, they promised to, and they never met their goals. They never even tried. Going to Crumble Cookie and asking them to go cage free eggs. Then we got to go and be their watchdogs and go make sure that they're using cage free eggs, which of course they're never going to, because every time the cage free egg price goes up a penny, they're going to switch back to their old habits to save money. We could just be saying, hey, let's find out cheaper ways for you to go egg free instead of cage free. I have a really hard time with incrementalism, and I have those arguments every single week. And I'm an abolitionist. I love what you said, though, that it's easier for you to just follow. I think you said you're following. It's easier for me to follow my heart and do what I believe in and be an abolitionist. And I think, I'm right there. I got my start at PETA too. And I've been an abolitionist ever since, for sure.
I've talked to so many people who worked for various organizations and animal welfare organizations, and they, thought they were improving things, and they realized, I don't feel authentic doing this work. And so they end up, leaving and doing their own thing. And I think, you have to follow your heart and what your vision for the world is. So
I don't want to get in their way, just like you said. I don't want to get in their way. I don't want to poo-poo anybody, but still, man, like it's hard.
Follow your heart.
It's hard for me to get fired up for thinking of, softer whips for slaves. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to get real fired up about that.
So what are Animal Outlook's goals? What do you guys hope to accomplish this year? And you have any plans in the works?
This year, definitely increasing the number of non-employment based investigations, because I think that's our real value add to the movement is, understanding of hidden recording equipment and what are the real pressing issues. We're always looking for new novel legal strategies as well. Impactful strategic litigation is one of the things the team does really well. That was left over from my predecessor, who was a great legal mind. I'm not one of those. What I can do is use my experience in press, because I kind of came up through PETA's press department, and say, that's an interesting story. I think we can tell that story. Here's how we tell it. Here's how we get more eyes. And that kind of consumer behavior change thing is delivering Animal Outlook's message to more people, I feel, is where I can add some value. So just doing more of what we do and doing it to a wider audience, making it more mainstream, is kind of the short-term goal. Longer term, I like the team that we have. I don't think there's much need to get any bigger. I've seen kind of what's happened with the bigger organizations. Bigger doesn't always necessarily mean better. We're able to have an impact whilst we still have a mid-sized team. We're not burdened by bureaucracy. But I think there's still a lot of money that, as you said, that needs to be raised outside of the movement. The pot of money is quite small with animal rights, and it does affect more people. So attracting that kind of wealth from the environmental movement, from the development movement, the Rockefellers, the Bill Gates. I think there's a lot that can be done by that, by attracting people into the animal movement, where it's so tangential to other issues that make are important.
Yeah, and your work getting this press attention, I think, is so important to help dismantle public trust and consumer confidence in these industries. And these industries' reputation is the most valuable thing. And if we can, strike at that and harm that, that is kind of one of the best things I think we can do. And I think, if I may pitch a collaboration on the Central Valley dairy industry and the heat wave happening right now and the heat in the summer, I think that the vast majority of Central Valley dairies are not adhering to farm standards. And we can get some footage to show that they are not reducing the pests. More than a quarter of their cows are showing signs of heat stress on these hot days. And they're not mitigating those signs of heat stress. And they are also, on occasion, they are not following the hygiene standards allowed by farm standards. So I think, we got to get more attention on that. And I think the press would be interested. We all hear about, take care of your pets during the hot weather. Well, what about the dairies? Are they doing that? Let's stop this focus on the individual and people accidentally locking their dog in the hot car, walking on hot pavement. And let's look at these $1 million dairy people and what they're doing to their cows. So hopefully,
Ben, you mentioned
that.
I think that would be incredible. Ben, you mentioned your experience in the press, and I wanted to see how do we dismantle this narrative of them like we're just feeding the world? The powerful, they've got a pretty good shtick, right? We're just feeding the world, and these are unnecessary. These are necessary evils. This is just part of it. I'm sure I've seen lots of people in the chat that believe that narrative. We've seen every time we go out and do outreach, you hear that. I even did an anti-vivisection tour with PETA, and I had cattle farmers almost in tears about what they saw in vivisection, but yet the gruesome things that they see every day, that's just necessary. Like, how do we dismantle that, man?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. I mean, the thing that we hear a lot when we do these undercover investigations is the bad apples excuse, right? That this is just a few bad apples. So what we try and do is show that, no, this is the failure of the system. This is the failure of the company, and holding companies, not just, minimum wage workers to account, but the whole system is showing that it's morally bankrupt and that suffering is intrinsic to the system. I think that's what we've got to show people. Our biggest challenge, I think, is just getting past the malaise. You speak to most people, most ordinary people on the street, they don't think about animal welfare. They don't think about it at all. They might know the term organic or, see certified humane and go, yeah, okay, it's humane. I only eat cage-free eggs. Most people don't give it a second thought. And so I think, how do we penetrate that kind of malaise, that wall? There's so much news going on. People are concerned that their relatives are being kidnapped off the street. How do we get through and talk about animals? It's something that I don't have an answer for. What we do have is a lot of opportunity to get it out there, to get more of a word out there, because there's so much suffering that needs to be exposed, and really telling those stories in as many different ways as possible to as many different audiences as possible. That's kind of my theory of change, and really penetrating, so when there is a bird flu or some huge event or an egg crisis, you can get national mainstream attention. It might be tomorrow's chip packets, as we say in the UK. Like the newspapers come in and the news cycle turns quite quickly. But if you're lucky, you'll get a few people along the way to reevaluate their relationship with animals, and that will lead eventually to wholesale systemic change.
Yeah. So what gives you hope for the future? What keeps you going despite all of this challenges you face?
Yeah. So what gives me hope for the future is that I've done a lot of exploring on this, and I can't think that it's right to treat animals the way we treat animals, to eat animals. I just can't see any moral justification for it. So knowing that it is the right thing to do. What keeps me going is just the wins that we get, the Harvey's Markets, the Hickman's investigation, the New York Times, the Wild Fought Foods, JBS. That's what keeps me going is those wins, those quick turnarounds, those great exposés. That motivates the troops, that gets the whole team's energy going. Getting those things is what keeps me going. But yeah, I mean, I want to see it in my lifetime. I do want to see a wholesale shift. I've come from the UK, and it's marginally better in the UK. Back in 2015, suddenly there was a lot of talk around veganism. A lot of mainstream restaurants, even McDonald's, added the plant burger. It's still on the menu in the UK. Is the Beyond McDonald's burger. I would be happy if we can get something like that over here. If we can get more of a mainstream of veganism, it doesn't even have to be everybody all at once. That's what I'm aiming for. But I will settle for just being able to get everybody being able to get decent vegan options on the road in every town in the States. We had a bit of a false start over the last few years. It came and then it backtracked a bit. We need to get back to where we were in 2019 when the Impossible Burger was added and Dunkin' Donuts was doing its thing, and Beyond Panda Express. We need to get back certainly quickly to a level where veganism is available to everybody throughout the States. And then it's a matter of just convincing people that once it's there and it's delicious, it's available and it costs the same and it tastes the same, that now's the time. That this is what's happening to animals and this is why you've got to eat it. So what keeps me going is there's just a lot of work to do, and I'm always excited by the wins.
Yeah, awesome work. Great job getting this press. So how can people find you? How can people follow Animal Outlook? What do you want people to work? How can they donate? What's going on?
Yeah, please. We're always accepting donations. If you go to our website, animaloutlook.org. One thing that's cool about our website is you will see 30 years of Info Investigations content on our investigations page. We make everything publicly available. So any influencers out there that want to use footage that's already been vetted by our legal team, and we've seen it with our own eyes, please go on the website, check out our investigation page, use all the footage that you want. All our legal cases are up there as well. We publicize everything. Go and check it out. And then follow us. We're on all the social media channels and TikTok and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, of course. So yeah, please give us a follow. Yeah.
Our moderators shared the links. So if you guys want to follow Animal Outlook, please do. Definitely visit the website. The website's awesome. Tons of stuff to watch there. And I love the fact, just rip it off and start making content about it. Get the word out there for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it.
Because that's what real men do. That's what real men do. That's what they real men take some footage from the animaloutlook.org and make some content about it, letting people know that we need to protect these animals.
Credit them for it, for sure.
Yes. Link back to them for sure. Yeah. Man, it was so great talking to you, and I really appreciate everything you do and getting to know you better on this stream. Thanks, and I hope you'll come back.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Congrats on all the great work that you're doing. You guys are keeping this up and getting this message out there to a whole new audience. So appreciate everything you do as well.
Thanks. We'll catch you on the other side. Thank you, Ben.
All right, take care. Bye.
That was inspiring.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic. I love doing these interviews because they make me feel like getting back out there and because it can't. When he says that malaise can be contagious too. It's not just penetrating the malaise, but not letting it stick to you. Not letting it get to you. You got to keep fighting. You got to be out there waking up every morning and having that hope that he was talking about.
Yeah, don't read the chat. Like, just keep going and doing, and ask yourself, what are you doing today? Who are you partnering with to get investigation footage out there to the media? I think we all should do that.
Definitely.
So,
I mean, what did you think about that? We talk about, I mentioned crumble cookie and all that, and I know how you feel about that one. But how do you feel about that? The idea of incrementalism, because sometimes it's hard because we talk about gas chambering pigs, and we're about to put a I was looking at the gas chamber footage again of pigs at I think it's Smithfield, right? Is it Smithfield where we have the gas chamber footage?
yeah.
Yeah.
In Vernon, that's now closed. So
Vernon,
that's a win.
Right, but Smithfield is still gassing pigs, and 90% of the 300 million pigs that we kill every year in America are put into gas chambers.
Again, 113 million pigs every year are put in the gas chamber. I think it's 130 million total. So yeah,
130 million pigs killed, 113 million in the gas chambers, or stunned in the gas chambers. They don't actually. I guess their hearts are still beating when they get out the other side.
Sometimes, it depends on the gas chamber. According to the investigator who did that, Smithfield, they were all dead when they left because they used a really high concentration of gas. But yeah, sometimes they're just stunned, but sometimes they're killed. So
okay, so a lot of pigs are getting killed by gas chambers, and we're like, hey, gas chambers are bad, but it's not just that gas chambers are bad, it's that we're, owning these animals, that we're using these animals. Can you kind of run us through why we want to show people what's happening with the gas chambers, and that isn't an example of incrementalism, that we're not trying to say, hey, don't just stop using gas chambers? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, because people have this belief that it's just one bad day and the animals are killed instantly and they die. That's what the industry tells them, that they're treated humanely. Anybody who sees this footage will see that's not true. The industry narrative is not true. It helps dismantle public trust in the industry. And I know a lot of people, who see that on Twitter, they always are like, that's horrifying. They don't want to be a part of that. And they stop eating pork because of it. That gas chamber footage, I think, the most effective outreach tool there is, because it's like, oh no, these animals are treated humanely and killed humanely. Have you seen how they're killed? No, you probably haven't, unless you've seen this footage. And here's how they're killed. And they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. This is how, and they think, oh, is that just rare? That's not how my humanely raised pork is killed. This is how 113 million pigs are killed in the United States every year. So no,
which is almost all of them. It's like 90%.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I guess I see people in the chat saying, well, my food is important, I should be able to eat what I want. It's like, yeah, you can eat what you want, but
you're not able to eat what you want under the current system. None of us are. None of us. Even your chocolate is through child slavery, and you should be pissed about that. And every time you eat meat, because Cargill has a hand in every step of the supply chain, you are enriching Cargill. So even though I eat a vegan diet, I'm still enriching Cargill, but not as much as you are if you eat meat. So, and you should be pissed. They're denying your choice. They are getting wealthy off of you, and they're taking your tax dollars too. You're paying taxes, you're paying it to Cargill, who have $60 billion.
Yeah, I guess the answer to someone who says, well, my food's important, though, it's like, well, your food is important, which is exactly why you should be pissed off that they're forcing you to eat this. They're forcing you to eat in this way, and they're treating you like an idiot. Because they know that you're not going to look into it. They know you're not going to see the gas chamber footage. They know you're not going to be just curious enough. You just have to be curious enough to find this stuff, but they know you're not going to be. They're betting that you won't be. Crystal, also, because, it's just something that I've been thinking about too, is that if in 5 years, if you looked back, what do you think is going to shift the paradigm? You think it's going to be it's Bill Gates butter? What's going to shift this paradigm? If
No.
5 years from now we look back and let's say we've made some ground. I don't know what this world was going to look like in 5 years. I'm less and less sure every day. I don't know what
I'm inspired reading the veterinary Facebook groups more and more every day. More and more veterinarians are saying things that I'm like, bravo, now put that up in your clinic. Like, they're just unabashedly, bravely saying things that are critical of the animal-based protein industry, knowing the backlash that they'll face from their people, and they're saying it anyway. And more people, it's becoming more normal in the veterinary profession to not trust this industry, not be a bootlicker for this industry anymore.
Yeah.
The veterinarians are pissed. They've been lied to. They watch those Temple Grandin videos where Temple Grandin was saying, "Oh, the pigs are anesthetized," and they roll out, not
they
showing,
roll out floppy.
Yeah, not showing what happens to them in the gas chamber. And now the veterinarians are seeing what happens, and they're like, "I did not endorse this." The AVMA is saying that ventilation shutdown is humane, and they like it's such a lie. They're like, I am tired of being gaslit by this industry. And so I think more and more veterinarians are going to hopefully post some things in their clinics saying, things critical of animal agriculture. People are going to go to their vet with their dog and to the veterinarian that they trust, and they're going to see information about why they should be angry at these corporations and this industry and how rich they're getting off of the suffering of animals and the exploitation of children. And people are going to change, and the corporations themselves are going to change too and invest in animal-free methods of food production.
Well, a lot of them are already investing in animal-free methods. I feel like they see the writing on the wall. I think that they're aware that either climate change or just the fact that their subsidies might dry up at any moment because of the whim of a dictator. Anything could happen. They're hedging their bets. But I love this idea of someone taking a beloved Chihuahua into a veterinarian's office and seeing a poster. They don't need a lecture. They really just need a poster or something in the office that says, like, did your bacon come from a gas chamber? Yeah, probably 90% of bacon comes from a gas chamber. Was your bacon supporting the Chinese Communist Party? Yeah, 25% of any bacon that you buy in this country is supporting the Chinese Communist Party. So it's like these things. I would love for veterinarians, people could be, because they should be trusted sources for information about animals. And they haven't been because they've been gaslit. They've been fooled. They've been bamboozled. Maybe they'll get some of these other idiots out of the bamboozle.
There will always be simps like some of these people in the chat who's saying, I've seen this slaughterhouse footage and I will continue to simp for the industry and be an NPC and give my money over to these corporations.
I will continue doing what I'm told. I don't care. This is like these are the people that'll see Donald Trump literally in the Epstein, on the Epstein Island with Jeffrey Epstein.
They wish they were on the Epstein Island is the reason.
They'll get to that point and they'll still be like, I don't care. Those people, they're hopeless. They're part of a cult.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they're just part of it. This is how they were raised, and they're never going to think critically about these things. And they love the fact that there's a disconnect. But man, I wonder, I like this idea that the paradigm is going to shift because the people that we already trust to tell us about animals, maybe they are tired of being gaslit by these industries. I mean, that would be amazing, right?
Yeah. Aaron says, vet speaking up for animals is the most normal thing, and I'm happy to see more vets actually doing it. Yeah. There's been some really good Facebook action of vets finally speaking out, and more and more vets. And like, I didn't know you're a vegan. Like, that's awesome. We're all coming together. And
are these vets only spaces though, or are lay people?
Vets only spaces. Yeah. So
we need that to bleed over, Aaron. We can't let them be in the echo chamber where they're only talking to other vets. Like Facebook is big. We need to have them share this stuff on their own personal pages and on the walls of their clinics. Everywhere it needs to be shared.
Yeah. And it's sad. So many vets are worried about being bullied and harassed online. And so they keep their social media private and they don't want to, say anything controversial. And there are a lot of vet students now who are like trying to become influencer vet students, but it's like, okay, are you going to be an influencer vet student? And are you going to simp for the industry, or are you going to join us and push back and stand up for the animals? And I think
I'd
more
love
and more
that, but I mean, I'm afraid that they're going to be like, like so many of these manosphere, like, Ben was talking about these manosphere in his article. So many of them are like, I don't eat Slim Jims. That's disgusting. I eat, the same thing. I eat this Slim Jim that's made out of deer organ meat. Like, that's the stuff they're trying to shill me as a man in America, these influencers. Oh, I'm all about transcendental meditation. But hey, if you really want to get healthy, you better eat these Slim Jims made out of deer organs. What the heck?
Yeah.
I'm afraid that the vets are just going to do stuff like that. That's what I'm afraid of, these veterinarian influencers. How do we stop that from happening?
I don't think they will. I think we have to present this information to them, debunk their myths. It takes, I was reading Michael Grinwald's book, We Are Eating the Earth. And it's does not pass the Bechdel test. Like, it is all men. I think he interviews maybe, and they are in passing, like he mentions Alka, like in a sentence.
I love her.
I love her too. She's like one of 3 women he mentions throughout the whole book, but he
Dr.
interviews
Alka
in
Chandra.
depth.
Yeah.
Bruce Friedrich, he talks to all of these people, Paul Shapiro, he talks to, so and one of his main muses throughout the whole book is Tim Searchinger, and he talks about Frank Mitloehner. If you don't know, he's my friend at the UC Davis Clear Center, who is trying to tell the story that cows are a climate solution, and he helped lobby California to give low carbon fuel standard credits for dairies. I know, like all men who are bad faith actors, he has blocked me on Twitter. All I did was correct the things that he was saying in the way that I do, in a polite, professional way. Of course, he blocks me. But I'm usually blocked by such men who are bad faith actors like that.
That's usually what you get. I can't help but this one. Like, it's amazing how people that follow. Look, we're asking you not to follow anybody. Crystal and I are literally asking you, don't follow anybody. Okay. Go ahead and put on your critical thinking caps and start questioning some of these corporations that have gaslit you for years. Start looking at what their practices are. That's what we're saying. Okay, we're not offering you a cult alternative. We're not offering you an alternative cult. We don't want to get to know you that well. We want you to start asking your own questions, start looking at science, start following some
this is not practice. Fight Club, where we tell you you've been lied to, and then you join our cult and you become minions for our cult. No, this is not what this is. We want you to think for yourself and not be minions for us, because we don't have the energy to have a bunch of minions.
But if you are moved, there is an organization, OurHonor.org, where you can go to OurHonor.org/donate and make a contribution if you want to support our investigations, our interviews, our content. We have a 501c3. Crystal's done incredible work where she sticks up for the vets, and she's trying to, we are trying to get these veterinarians to start being real advocates for the animals by following their conscience.
Yeah, it's so important, because veterinarians are the ones who have the power to set policy in the United States. The legislators listen to us, journalists listen to us, and we need more veterinarians out there who are willing to stick it to the industry and stand up for the animals.
Yeah, totally. And that kind of ties into something I also wanted to ask you, which was, right now we're talking a lot about cultural change, but I know we do support legislative change, but like, where do you think we're going to achieve an animal-free food system? Through legislation primarily, or through cultural change? What do you think?
It's hard to say. I look at like what happened with cigarettes, like it's going to be sort of that sort of thing. It has to be something that's taboo, but there also has to be support for bans on advertising, and there has to be support for taxes. We have to understand, we have to teach people what the externalities of this are. Read, Merchants of Doubt.
We can't. You're
We
going to
have
try to get people to read? Come
I
on,
know.
Crystal.
I guess
You're
that's
trying
not.
to
I have to summarize it
read
for
a
you.
book. You're not going to get these.
But
You're not going to get
the
the
same
dominant
way
culture to read a book.
we got people to vilify trans fats and olestra. We have to tell the story of how the way that these products are produced is harming us, and we have been denied a choice of alternatives, and we should be angry about that. We should demand alternatives that don't harm animals in our environment, and we should also like normalize a diet, and we need influencers to do this. A lot of influencers helped advance this carnivore agenda, but we need more influencers to be like, no, I only eat plants, I eat lentils, this is how I don't want any seed oils in my diet, I don't want anything, and I'm healthy and I eat this diet that doesn't include animal products, because animal products are full of microplastics and they harm the environment, and they're spreading H5N1 everywhere, and these companies are getting bailed out. So I'm angry about all of that, and I don't want anything to do with that.
Count me out of it.
But I can also eat a high protein, nutritious diet and get swole without having to eat any processed crap. And I'm healthier, and I'm demanding that more fast food restaurants put whole foods, high protein meals that aren't processed on their menus. Like, let's support lentils, let's support beans, let's support nuts, let's support kale salads with lots of hummus on it. That's what I want to eat. And this is why I don't go out anywhere, because there's a lot of the menus don't have what I want to eat on them. They have like very oily stuff that's processed and fake meat, and I don't want any of that.
I do think there's something to be said about being self-reliant. I believe in individualism, and I want to be self-reliant. I don't like going to restaurants and having other people cook for me unless it's, I'm in a jam, I'm traveling or something. I generally like cooking for myself, and I feel like that's a talent and a skill, an art that people have lost. I think it's separating them from their humanity, frankly. I think that separates them. That's one of the things that's causing this disconnect. We've made people such softies, such simpletons, such simps for these industries that it's like they can't even imagine. You talk to some young people and they're like, I know it's not just young people, but I recently talked to a young person, and the only thing that they want to do is like In-N-Out today, Wendy's tomorrow, Burger King on Thursday, Chick-fil-A on Friday. That's their thought process. They're not even thinking about where their food comes from, how it was preparing it themselves. That's like, what are you, from Mars?
It's wild to me. Like, where I live in a fancy building, and a lot of people get DoorDash, and I see their DoorDash and they're getting DoorDash from McDonald's. Like, what? When we live in this area where there's all of these awesome restaurants where you can DoorDash from,
and
like
you're living in an area where they can afford better than McDonald's. It's not because they can't afford. Yeah.
Like, I know they can afford, although I don't know if they're just paying all their money on rent to live here. That might be
maybe
too. But if you're door dashing, you have money. Like, it's not, I don't door dash all the time because, I don't want to waste money on that, but I could afford to DoorDash whenever I wanted to, but I choose not to because I think it's a waste of money. And I also want to eat healthy and stuff I make at home.
I would love that if Kennedy got involved with, hey, let's teach people to cook again. Let's get that being taught. No, they want to put the Bible back in schools. I want to put cooking classes back in schools. I want to put home ec back in schools so that people can be self-reliant. They can learn how to read the nutritional information on boxes. Like, when I was a kid, I had to learn all that crap, and I learned how to cook. I learned how to cook along the way. because I've had poor times in my life, I guess. I don't know. And I worked in the industry for so long. I guess I picked up some stuff, but it ain't that hard to learn how to cook,
Mhm.
you know?
And it's also like, even if just like it's not hard to make salads, which I don't cook really. I just like make salads and stuff and smoothies,
Such a
and I'm
girl.
still,
Such a
know,
girl.
fine. But the chicken marketing summit, though, that industry is figuring out how do we package chicken in ways that people can, just open a bag, heat it up, and eat it, because that's what people want to do. And we're not learning from that. We're like, no, we need to teach people to do this hard thing of
But you
cooking
don't
when they
have
can't
to. Like,
even.
I'm not even okay. So yesterday I think I made I made some ramen, and I had the noodles. They were dry. I boil them in a pot just like anybody making ramen. It's not that big of a deal. I'm still using peppers and stuff, like powdered stuff. And then I wanted vegetables. I had a frozen bag of vegetables. All you do is put it in the microwave and hit it. I'm still cooking. I'm not saying you got to be a 3 Michelin star restaurant cook. I'm saying buy ingredients. Then when you ask the person, then you ask yourself what you want to eat tonight, you have all of this creativity to explore. You could do all of these things, and it's not hard. A lot of it is microwaving a bag and dumping it on this, or a lot of it is they
Yeah.
made it so easy. You don't have to learn how to difference between a saute and a flash fry. You don't need to know all that.
And that
Shit.
packaging is all microplastics, and they're upcharging you for combining the food when that actual food in that package
Yeah.
is really cheap if you just buy it and cook it yourself.
But the microplastics thing, it's like a lot of your vegetables will come in plastics, but you're generally not getting so many plastics from vegetables. The plastic isn't permeating the vegetable. But with meat, what we saw it on Rogan, like a huge percentage of people in the ingested microplastic, because a lot of it's coming from your clothes and stuff, but the ingested microplastic is coming from eating animals.
Mhm.
So because that's how it works its way through the chain, right? You're eating an animal that also ate microplastics. Like they
Yeah.
fed them, like the animal ate microplastics. It's why pregnant women aren't supposed to eat salmon, right? It's because they're predators and they've eaten other animals with mercury in them, and then the mercury is concentrated, so it'll hurt the baby or something, right? I mean,
Mhm.
makes sense to me. But I guess I really feel like it is that simpiness of a lot of people, that they just don't want to learn how to stand on their own 2 feet. They don't want to learn how to
A
cook for
lack of
themselves.
courage in America.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what
Yes.
it is. It's in the comments right here, is the lack of courage. They don't want to,
Lack of
they want to do what they're
courage.
told. They want to wear the brand. They want to show that they
Yes.
belong by like their purchases.
They don't want to
And
work on
they're
themselves at all. It's
Yeah.
so much easier to buy a brand. That brand
Mhm.
comes with a free personality. Why develop your own personality? You could be told, I'm a Wendy's guy. Oh no, I'm a Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I've seen people with cane stuff like hanging from like fast food, and they hang it from their rear view mirror and put it on their antenna and stuff. They've decked out their car with their favorite fast food restaurant. What the hell? They're not working there. They're just fans.
Yeah, they're just doing free advertisement for the man. They'll never make their own money, but they're willing to like do free advertisement for these giant corporations that are getting their tax
Yes.
dollars.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. These dudes.
I'm not
And
asking. Oh, I love this. Was what grass-fed cow is eating plastics?
cool. Yeah, dude. The vast majority of what cows are eating is not grass.
Yes.
The plastics get ground up. There's garbage in these fields. They put it in the
It's all
silage,
pelletized and it's in the
and
salad.
it's
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, and especially pigs. Pigs, they just feed garbage to. What's on the floor
Straight
of the
up
bakery, and it includes
the packaging.
like
Yeah.
they make it into swill and they feed it. they heat it up, and it's a lot of packaging and garbage, and the pigs eat
Pigs
it. And then,
particularly nasty, but also cows eat a lot of fish. People don't tend to realize that the cow is the largest predator of the sea now. More cows, because there's so many cows, and we
wow.
feed them so much of our fish and the colostrum from cradle to grave, or from what'd you say? From farrow to what was the thing you say for pigs? You call it from
A farrow to
from
finish.
farrow to finish. What a horrible term. From farrow to finish. I wonder if there's a cow equivalent term. From crate to grave. From crate to grave, they're feeding them fish supplements, all sorts of different things that they are injected with, all sorts of, they got plastics in them. Look it up.
Yeah. And I wonder how much is all of the injections that they're getting, the vaccines, how much of that plastic is leached off from just the needle syringe into them too. I wonder what
I mean,
that's about.
what I'm 100% sure of is that a lot of cow flesh has a lot of plastics in it. How it gets there, it seems like there's just multifarious ways.
And just drinking water too. Like it's a lot of it's in the drinking water, and they drink a lot of water.
They drink a lot of water. That's right. And then they store the plastics. So like we're getting it's since it's cumulative, they drink the water, and then they have the plastic in them, and then we eat that, and then it stays into us. It's a whole thing. You could watch Joe Rogan. You don't have to take me. You could follow your alpha male, the one you simp for the hardest. Go watch Joe Rogan. He did a whole thing about it. It's not just me. I'm angry about the microplastic thing, especially since I think it's probably going to kill us. I wanted to should not kill us, but I think
it'll decrease our quality of life. That's for sure. Whether it be us ingesting it or just the production methods. And I think the vast majority of the decrease in the quality of our life here in the United States will come from us sipping for the industry and allowing these production processes to continue. So I hate it when people make it about like, oh, you'll eat this and you will get sick and die. It's like, no, the production methods are decreasing our quality of life. They're harming our air. They are, spreading disease in our environment. They're making us take more sick days. Sure, there's foodborne illnesses too, which are costing us billions of dollars and, reducing our productivity. But that's.
So we talked a lot about how the industries are kind of propagandizing masculine experience in America, but I didn't want you to roll your eyes too much while we were talking about that. And you mentioned that you eat a lot of salads, and immediately I was thinking, and I said that joke. I was just joking. You're such a girl, but like I eat salads too. I love salads. I make high protein salads. I make salads for my girl and me, and I cover mine with soy curls, so I get a bunch of protein when I eat the salads, or we make a bunch of tofu and make a tofu salad. It's fantastic. But it seems like it's more acceptable for a woman to say, "Oh, I'm not going to eat animals." But growing up, like as a woman in America, they are trying to get you to eat animals all the time, aren't they?
I don't know. Are they? I honestly,
I'm asking you as
I
an
don't
expert.
know. I hear lots of women say like people are trying to get them to have children. I've never had that experience because I think anybody who sees me is like, please don't give birth, don't procreate. So I don't live the normal experience of what it is like to be a woman in America. So I'm not the best person to ask. I don't think.
But you were consuming culture for a long part of your life. You must have been aware of some of that. I mean, it always seems like women are being marketed milk chocolate and ice cream and all these like sweets and stuff. I mean, do you feel like that seems to be very, even though I see men eating ice cream and eating chocolate just as much as women, but women seem to be like they'll free advertisement for they seem to simp hard for that portion of the organ. It seems that way to me. Like, oh my God, chocolate. Oh my God, chocolate's so good. Always talking about chocolate on the internet and the influencers. And oh my God, this ice cream. I got to get this, tons of milk in my coffee, whatever those frappuccinos and stuff. It seems to be like they go to Starbucks and they got to have this big creamsicle as a
Oh my
drink.
God, I cannot stand those like
I don't get it.
milkshake things.
I
Like,
don't get it.
why would you eat that? Like, do you know like how hard you will have to work out in order to burn those calories?
800
And you'll
calories or something.
feel awful. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Whenever I eat anything that's sugary, I feel awful afterwards. So I know
Yeah.
it's going to like harm my ability to work.
I always think of it, I always think of it as this infantilization of women that because I feel like when I was a kid, I ate milkshakes and all that ice cream and all that shit you give kids, chocolates and candies. As an adult, not really. Like now I like black licorice or something. I'm like, I don't eat really all the sweeties and stuff. And when I see dudes on the internet like, oh yeah, I'm drinking this milkshake, I'm going, that's really childish. That's the first thing that pops in my mind. Before I think of it as like that's an animal and that mother was raped, blah blah blah, I think of, well, that's a real childish thing to do. Like, you're still eating it, the same thing that you ate when you were 10 at McDonald's. You're eating the same thing. You're not supposed to eat the same thing.
And I'll go to vegan restaurants and I'll see they have like the milkshakes on the menu, and I always am like, I should get that because but then I'm like, I know I'm gonna feel awful afterwards, so I don't. I don't know, is maybe that a way to also keep women down and not productive by giving us all of this sugar?
Well, I think that's part of it, but it's also, I think that there's so much like, man, I feel that there's a big infantilization of the American experience, that everyone wants to be Peter Pan, and that they and the little boys never want to grow up. They just want to keep eating McDonald's. But I feel like it's worse on women. Like, it's almost completely acceptable to act like, behave like, and be marketed to like a child. And
interesting, yeah.
And the men are going, no, we're real men, trust us. And then Joe Rogan eats the same McDonald's.
But like the women, we make more money than the men in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Although we still don't have access to capital. We still don't. We can, like, our salaries are higher, but we don't have the wealth that men have. We don't have the property. It's been shown that parents are more likely to like pay for the college education for their boys than their girls. So we have more student loan debt, but we are in some cases earning higher salaries. We're getting higher degrees and all of this stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw Jasmine Crockett made this interesting thing because once again, Donald Trump said that she should take an IQ test like he had to, which he never did. They have to take a cognitive ability test that just determines whether or not you have dementia, whether or not you're completely crazy. You have to take that test as president. You don't have to take an IQ test, unfortunately. But he called her Jasmine Crockett, representative from Texas, African-American woman.
Yeah, I know her. Yeah.
Sorry, I know you probably did, but I was just trying to
Yeah, I know. No, I'm just saying that she's a person you all should know and follow.
Yeah, she's a person everyone should know. Yes. Yes. And she's controversial, and I think she said some controversial things. Some things I like, some things I don't like a lot of humans. And this isn't really defending her, but I saw an interview with her because Trump has this week again said that she's a low IQ individual and she should take an IQ test, which is, I think, a very racist thing to say, but that's neither here nor there, because she said it's about also, I'm a woman. I have more earned degrees than he does. I have an advanced degree. I have had to earn all of I didn't get into school because anybody let me. I had to earn that. No, I didn't have rich parents that could get me all the classes and all the tests and all the prep. I didn't have any of those advantages, and I still had to earn it all. And this person's telling me I have to get an IQ test. And I feel like that is a very common experience for women. Like, they'll have a more advanced degree in a field that's relevant and still
Literally, funders will give men money based on their potential, and they give money to us based on what we've actually accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
It's and they give opportunities to men based on their potential, but we have to prove ourselves first before we're given any of these opportunities. So
Yeah,
that's how it is.
it is. Yeah. Do you think? Well, I was going to ask you if you, you're in LA and have things died down? You mentioned getting arrested, and I wanted to ask you when Ben left, if are the armies still there? Is everyone still? Is
Oh yeah.
everything okay? They're still in the streets.
Yeah, and it's they are doing this nonstop demonstration outside of the Metropolitan Detention Center, and people are getting arrested still. And they call it the music festival, because if you call it a protest, it's the algorithm doesn't like that on the Twitter machine, so they call it music festival, the LA Music Festival. It's
LA
been
Music
nonstop,
Festival.
but it's also makes me think, okay, we have people mobilized who are nonstop protesting outside the LA Detention Center for weeks now, 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
What has that gotten us? And there's no press attention on this. And it's disturbing that there's no press attention on this, and just like giving an update, like, yeah, day 28 of the nonstop protest outside of the Metropolitan Detention Center, and this many people were arrested. It should be like in every newspaper, but it's not.
It should be. You're so right. I watch many different news outlets every day, and the only one I ever see doing that is Rachel Maddow. She'll say, okay, this is a protest happening in this city, happening in this city, happening, and she'll show all different protests happening all over. And she's the only one I see reporting it. I don't see any.
And nobody says how many people were arrested today or anything like that.
Nothing like that. How many people are in the detention center in LA that have committed no crimes? I'd love to know that. I don't even know who's in there. It's 1,000 beds, right? I want to know who's in there, but we have no way of knowing.
We should have a list
of
who's in there and what they're in for. Like, where's the journalism?
They're being
but we can't rely on journalists to do this for us.
Not anymore.
I know we're all burdened with trying to break the news and doing FOIAs and doing on the ground investigations.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much press, so much attention on this now. And yet who's doing FOIAs of the Metropolitan Detention Center to find out who's inside there? And who's going to the police station to document how many people are arrested and letting us know? I feel like we show video footage, but nobody's doing the in-depth investigation work that we know we can't rely on the media to do. So maybe we need, and that's another thing that I saw the other day on TikTok, was everybody out there and everybody's doing their own live stream out there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, is anybody actually demonstrating, or is everybody just out there being an influencer? Is anybody going home and doing the homework?
Having your body there is still valuable, right? You gotta have it. I mean, I don't know what the long game is the thing, right? I'm sure there's lots of protests going on in DC right now. I haven't seen any. I've seen no evidence of any. I've seen some footage, some cell phone footage of cops harassing people, not cops, but soldiers and FBI agents harassing people. But that's all really,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot going on, but we won't ever know about it. They're not going to report it. And until someone gets shot, then they'll report. If it bleeds, it leads, right? That's what's going to happen.
And I know there are people willing to get shot for the cause.
Yeah, I think that's about to happen.
That's
I don't
a
think
thing. But it's like, people burning themselves up. That happens too, but it's like a flash in the pan. It gets some attention for a couple of days and then nothing. And you don't want to be that person who's just going to be the flash in the pan and then it's going to be forgotten. You want to make some press that's going to withstand the test of time and going to actually result in policy change. So what are we going to, and we have to get together with our community members and figure this out for ourselves and mobilize ourselves.
Once this machine gets going, it's difficult. There were lots of protesters during Nazi Germany time. I always mention Sophie Scholl. She tried to get it out that she had pamphlets and booklets that she would, because eventually they started rationing ink and controlling who can access printing presses. This is what happens. They start controlling who has access to paper. And so she was part of a university, so she was still able to put stuff out, but she got caught eventually, and they chopped off her head with a guillotine, and her brother. And I don't know that it had. I find it in her story incredibly inspiring, but it didn't change anything. I guess, like, people remember her as one of the ones that stood up against a rising tide.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
But
change
who are
anything.
you going to be? Are you going? Are the people in the chat? Are you just going to be the one who goes along? And it reminds me of the veterinary profession, where we're just allowing private equity to take over our profession, and taking these jobs, working for these corporations, and burning ourselves out.
And repeating mantras, I'm sure too. They repeat the mantra that it's like, this is necessary but unfortunate, or whatever.
Well, yeah, but they always justify it to themselves too. But it's like, work for nonprofits, start your own, like, find your people. Do not continue doing this work because you've boxed. A lot of people just box themselves in, where they are like, well, I can't move because blah blah, I'm married to a horrible person who I hate. Like, don't and these are all my friends.
I voted for Trump, so I guess I got to support him until I die. No, you don't.
Do people say that?
People, I mean, it's clear what's happening, right? Like, I never in my whole life remember anybody calling themselves a Bush supporter or a Clinton supporter outside of the election. Like, you support them as they get elected, and once they're elected, you're like, okay, now it's time for you to do it. You're not their supporter anymore. You're just a guy who voted for them. We're all Americans, and this is a very different vibe. Like, having Trump supporter, I think it's I don't think
these people in the chat are not real people. We can't say that these are like normal people out there in the community. So, talk to real, actual people, not just people online. That is different, but it is also, I see the people I talk to have convinced themselves that they can't move, they can't divorce their husband who hates them, because of the kids, they've, got themselves boxed in somehow. Get yourself out of it, and you can start today getting yourself out of this box. Your kids will be 18 soon. You can move.
That's what I'm trying to do every day, is tell people to get out of their box, start asking questions, but they'll just repeat the same lies that they've heard over and over again, like crossing a border is illegal. It's okay. They don't want to hear that most of the people who are incarcerated in places like Metro, they presented themselves at borders legally. They entered the country legally. They were tricked into going to court hearings, and then they were, surprise, your case has been dismissed and you're under arrest. Like, these people were here legally, and now they're in concentration camps. And you get to the point where you're going, well, if you're just going to repeat the lie over and over again, I think that's what they've told a lie so many times, they can't imagine it otherwise. People like veterinarians or accountants, I hear this all the time. People that are like, well, I put 20 years in and can't stop now. This is it. And this is what.
Yeah. And those people don't matter because they're not influencing policy. So any of those people who are just like living their lives, NPCs, don't even waste your energy. I mean, talk to them so you get the vibe of what people are dealing with in the world, but they're not ultimately influencing policy.
Yeah.
We have to like engage more with the people who are actually affecting policy and get down to what they believe. And that means, when was the last time you emailed your representatives and engaged in a dialogue? And have you met with your representatives? And have you gone to a city council meeting? And are you Are you signing up to be on a committee in your city council? Doing stuff like that that can actually influence change rather than waste, like 80/20 principle. What are you wasting your time doing? Talking with people online who don't actually affect policy, worrying about what NPCs in the chat say, or are you actually like talking to people who are doing something and working with them and supporting them in affecting policy change? And we all have
You're
to
right.
ask those of us who have the ability to free up our time and work on these things should be focusing on energy on the people who
But the
matter.
stuff you're talking about, Crystal, is not freeing up. You don't have to free up time to email your representative. You don't have to free up time to make a
But
phone call.
NPCs aren't going to affect policy.
You're right.
And
You're right.
ultimately don't matter.
But you're right. I haven't called any of my representatives in a couple weeks. So I'm gonna do that. And also I've been meaning to go to a city council meeting since I've lived in this house, and I haven't. I keep on looking it up and not going. But I need to go. You're right. It's a thing to do on like a Thursday evening. That's usually when they do it, is like a Tuesday or a Thursday, and you can just go. It's a thing to
And look
instead
for
of going-
vacancies on commissions and contact your city council member and see if they'll appoint you onto one of those commissions.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds fantastic. I think that this is exactly right. I want to do that for sure. I love it.
Yeah.
Crystal, what about this week? Are we doing FOIA Friday?
I don't got much. I mean, I think we will. I'm going to talk to a guest and see if
It's only an
see if
hour.
they want to join us on that, or afterwards. I have to see what works out for their time. Hopefully I'll get some more FOIAs in. But have you drafted a FOIA this week? And if you haven't, you certainly should.
I haven't this week yet, but I've been looking at my old FOIAs because I want to share them in our FOIA chat. You asked me to share them in the FOIA chat, and I'm like, well, am I going to take screenshots? I'm going through like all my old FOIA
copy
emails.
and paste so that they can copy and paste it and make their own FOIAs from it.
Okay, I guess I can do that because a lot of them have my address on there. Like I made a lot of the FOIA Fridays private because my address was on there, and someone's like, Sky, maybe you shouldn't do that. And I went, yeah, maybe you're right at this point because channel's growing. I'm getting a lot of MAGA people. They're so like, they threaten violence all the time. And
but you're not scared. You're just angry at them for,
well, it's just annoying, like I'm not really like, I'm armed. I'm not that worried, but like I don't want to give them the opportunity to send me pizzas or do something stupid.
Just delete the part that has your address on it and say, put your address here, and copy and paste it so that it makes it easy for other people to copy and paste it and change the keywords. And
that's what I'll do. I'll do that. I'll send my FOIAs out. I'll see what I got. I know I got stuff and I've been going through it. I need to make like a folder on my Gmail that just has like just FOIA stuff and just organize it better. Because right now it's like all in the inbox and I'm going, man,
we could put one on our honors Google Drive. We have a FOIA folder and you can put them all in there.
I should do that.
I
wasn't methodical about this because like when I started doing FOIAs with you, I was just like, I want to do FOIAs, like let's do it. And I just started doing FOIAs and I didn't like think about, let me organize this properly and stay organized. I was just like, fucking do it. And we'll see what happens, but
you see your onboarding documents. We have our FOIA spreadsheet that you should be putting your FOIAs into.
You're right. I should. I wasn't organized, but I didn't do that. I just was excited and started throwing FOIAs out and was not organized at all. Plus, because then you get them back, you're like, oh, I got rejected from that one, and I wasn't keeping track. And now I wish that I had like been more organized and deliberate about it, but I was not. Maybe I'm going to chalk it up to Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm still an acolyte. I'm still a neophyte. I'm still a learner, and I've learned my lesson. I think I'm going to start being more deliberate and organized with my FOIAs. But are we going to do FOIA Friday or not? Because that's what I was asking. We're going to plug that show this week?
Yes, let's do it. Yeah.
All right, FOIA Friday at 4. Tune in on Friday at 4 p.m. where Crystal and I are going to exercise our legal right to access information. The Freedom of Information Act was passed a while back, and we use it to try to uncover corruption in the animal-based protein food system. And yeah, please tune in for that. It's always a fun show. I really like doing it. Thank you, Jackie Boyle, for promoting this show. Thank you for putting a penny in the pot for the day. Thank you. Appreciate £9.99 for and if you want to donate, please do at ourhonor.org/donate. Anything else, Crystal?
And all donations matched up to $25,000. So please
Yes.
donate now, and your donation is doubled. We could really use it. I'll put it in the chat. You can also Venmo at Our Honor. But ourhonor.org/donate. Now is the time to donate. So please do.
Totally. And also, when you're there, sign up for our newsletter. We work hard on the newsletter and brainstorms to make it interesting. It's mostly geared for veterinarians, but I think everybody can get the newsletter and get something out of it, don't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's should be geared to everybody, but especially veterinarians, since so few vets get this sort of stuff. So
yeah, and if you know a veterinarian, please share ourhonor.org. This it is an organization that is for veterinarians and by veterinarians. So yeah, spread the word. Cool. Well, and then thanks so much to Ben Williamson. What a cool talk. I appreciate him coming by. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Please subscribe to Our Honor on YouTube and follow Crystal on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter now. Crystal has not forced me, I'm just joking. She has convinced me to be more active on Twitter. So if you'd like to follow me on there, Skyjack Morgan, but please follow Dr. Crystal Heath and have...
Again, Twitter is the people that matter, because that's where the journalists are. They're not on YouTube. So
they're not on YouTube.
They're clearly not in this chat.
They're not in the chat for sure. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I appreciate you. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Bye. That's my favorite part of the song.